Welcome to the main event here on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. I am Rob Rozycki. We got Eli Moon, Double A Anthony Alford. And sorry we're a couple of minutes late, but I guess you can blame Matt Stafford and Caleb Williams and the thrilling finish that has happened in Soldier Field. The Bears are sadly staying at home. They are not advancing in the NFL playoffs. The Rams in overtime, everybody, defeat the Chicago Bears 20-17 in a game that I think we were all expecting a few more points, but caps off an amazing divisional weekend, everybody. How is everybody doing on this football weekend here, divisional round? We got the CFP final happening tomorrow. A shit ton of football happening and a whole lot for us to talk about. How's everybody doing?
Man, I'm doing great, guys. Great to see everybody. Happy Sunday. And, nobody else I'd rather spend the last few hours of my Sunday with than Double A Anthony Alford and Rob Rozycki. And, man, what a finish. What a finish. I mean, we can jump right into that, right? I mean, a crazy game. But before I get into all that, Rob, I don't want us to get down the rabbit hole. Double A, how are you doing this weekend, man?
Good. What a weekend. Of course, great wrestling show last night. I was at Exodus Pro Wrestling, kind of multitasking between that and the final moments of Buffalo and Denver, and made it home just in time for the Seahawks to put belts to their behinds of the Niners last night. But phenomenal games overall. And yeah, we was like, if this Rams-Bears game was a blowout, we could jump on at 9 o'clock. But overtime thriller, Caleb Williams just elite, but Matthew Stafford and the Rams are the ones moving on.
Yeah, it's weird. I said while we were kind of watching that overtime, the torch is not passed in the NFL; it's taken, and it looks like Matt Stafford was not in the mood to give that up yet. And Caleb Williams, speaking of giveaways, key interception at the tail end of the game, which really flipped the script for the whole thing. It looked like it was going to be a Bears victory. And yes, the old wily veteran, age 36, 37, Matt Stafford, by far the oldest quarterback still alive in the playoffs, but he's still alive and has a damn good chance to get to his second Super Bowl with the LA Rams here. So not bad at all. And yeah, it was just a capper of an amazing weekend.
Yeah, and here's what I'm going to say, guys. I know I've been hard on the Chicago Bears, and I know they just lost, but I'm actually impressed with the Chicago Bears. And this season, the fans of Chicago should hold their heads high. I know this was, literally seconds. They just lost a chance to go to the NFC Championship. But that throw at the end of the game, or at the end of the fourth quarter, rather, by Caleb Williams was just remarkable. I mean, that looked like me playing Madden against you guys a few weeks ago, except for I wasn't able to complete the throw. I lost twice, and the rest is history. But Caleb Williams, that was very impressive for a guy who's kind of been held under, a high amount of scrutiny and discussion in his career in the first few seasons. It's really like moments like that make you go, and that's why he was the number one overall pick.
It does. Chicago fans ain't trying to hear that right now.
I know.
You're wrong. You're right. Be proud and stuff, but you have seen, especially in this round of the playoffs, how critical turnovers and not being able to make those critical stops and get ahead when you need to, or as we talked pre-show, take points when you have the opportunity to. That's the difference. It's very narrow between winning and losing these games. And every team that has moved on has taken full advantage of critical opportunities that the losing team hasn't been able to take advantage of.
Yeah, you just look at what happened in this last game. Stafford 4 sacks on this night, which I know in Cleveland sounds like a pretty decent first half, but for Statty, that was actually the season high, and he got beat up pretty good even when he wasn't getting sacked officially. There were a lot of blitzes, there were a lot of contact. He was having a tough issue, but if you look at the stat line. Yeah, 0 touchdowns. They relied on Kyren Williams a couple of times, on the ground, but it was no interceptions. He played a clean game. Yeah, he got beat up. Yeah, it wasn't the Stafford that we're used to seeing, but they didn't give the ball away, or he didn't give the ball away. Then conversely, Yeah, it was going through Caleb a little bit more on the other side, a couple of touchdowns, but he did have the 3 interceptions. And yes, that's where we saw it. I mean, we saw 2 games in overtime this week, Saturday and Sunday, both with key interceptions at the worst possible time if you're a Bills fan or a Bears fan. And yeah, that's all she wrote, especially in these situations where next score wins. Like we just saw it right now. All the Rams had to do was get about 3 first downs, and they were in the promised land. So yeah, turning the ball over. And the other thing too, I will say real quick, if you go back and look at like George Blanda's stats or anybody from the 80s, 90s, 70s, you'll see that is a fairly new phenomenon. Like I think Blanda had like 40 interceptions in 1 year and started every game. Like now, if you get up to 15, 20, and look at Shador. I mean, he was up around 12 or 13, and people were going nuts. Yeah, it is so competitive that giving the ball away even 1 or 2 times, that could be the difference between a win and a loss.
Yeah, and I get, at the end of the day, it's unfortunate, but I just didn't put myself in the minds of us Browns fans if we just had this season. And I'm telling you, the idea, Double A, I know you're looking at me crazy, but I can still reflect on when we had Baker, we had just got that tough game against the Chiefs, and we felt we had good momentum. I know it's a tough pill for Chicago to swallow right now, right this instant, as we are literally on air moments after the game. But they should be happy knowing that they got a lot of questions answered this season. Caleb Williams is legit. Ben Johnson seems like a guy they can rock with as the leader of their franchise. And at the end of the day, they've had a lot of success. And I'm just saying, as somebody who was hard on them all season, they definitely impressed me today, even in the loss. That's all I'm saying.
They did. But when you said as a Browns fan, that kind of triggered me a little bit because
I could tell. Like your head got a whole lot.
It kind of did. I grew some grays during that one sentence that you said because
be okay with the gray. Be okay with the gray.
I remember, since we're doing 2016 trends and stuff, but I remember 5 years ago, calendar-wise, 5 years ago, Browns had all the momentum. We were this close against Kansas City. We were this close against Kansas City in the divisional round, and we had all the momentum in the world. I'm still waiting for another playoff game, for the Cleveland Browns. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm not saying the Bears are going to fall into that trap going forward, or any of these teams that lost this past weekend. Well, maybe the Texans, but I
don't know. The Texans are pretty good about looking good in round 1 and getting booted in round 2. So I might pencil it in next year.
I mean, if you think about it too. Just the whole totality of these playoffs, the Texans can't get past this round. And it's been this way, for the history of their franchise. They can't get past this round. The Bills and Josh Allen, I know we're going to talk about them in a little bit. It doesn't matter who is in the playoffs or who is not in the playoffs. They can't move forward no matter what. So it's – and the Niners can't stay healthy enough to move forward in the playoffs. So it's you got to have the health, you got to have the right coaching, and again, every team, and Rob pointed it out just a few seconds ago, if you're starting quarterback, no matter if it's the starting quarterback's fault or the receiver, doesn't matter. Your starting quarterback has 3 or 4, 5 turnovers, you're going to lose.
Yeah, and Double A, and I know we're going to talk about all the action here. I do want to just bring up the one thing about the Chicago Bears I do want to bring up that did disappoint me a little bit, and I guess it's just part of the game as the NFL evolves, is just not going for points early. And I know we discussed a little bit during, kind of watching a little bit of the game here about, the Rams left points on the board as well. But I just think Ben Johnson at times is just way too aggressive. That's the one thing that does just worry me going forward is they have almost played themselves out of football games. I mean, granted, this came down to overtime, but that's the one thing. It's like, how aggressive is too aggressive? I mean, before, 10 years ago, we were like rooting for 4th down. Now it's like, hey, punt the ball every now and then. That's the one thing that did worry me.
Just to illustrate my point, there was a 2-year span, 74 and 75, where Joe Namath threw 50 interceptions. 22-20.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm looking at the league leaders right now. Terry Bradshaw, 24 interceptions. John Heddle, San Diego 32 in 1968. So yeah, I mean, and then you translate that up. I'll scroll back up to this decade. Geno Smith 17 this year. Kirk Cousins the year before that 16. Baker in Tampa 16 and 24. Sam Howell, remember that dude, 21. By the way, that was the only one of the 2020s that broke 20 interceptions. So yeah, I mean, it's a big deal.
I'll give you one other thing because we got a comment from Raul. Mentioned,
oh, by the way, in 19, we also got to throw up 19 where Jameis Winston went 33rd.
That was a great fantasy football year.
That was amazing.
That was a great fantasy football year. Jim McMahon in 85 when the Bears won the Super Bowl. This is according to AI. I did not do further research, so correct me if AI is wrong. Says here, Jim McMahon threw for 2,392 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 15 interceptions. Your Super Bowl winning quarterback had more interceptions than touchdowns. But of course, the historic 85 Bears defense, you just had to, I guess be a game manager, but it's hard to explain being a game manager these days when you have more interceptions than touchdowns.
Yeah, but also Double A, it kind of like circles back to the point of like Caleb Williams. Like, yeah, like I know, Bears fans aren't happy right this instant, but he had to win this game, and he had to do it a lot of times this season. And, I think a lot of people kind of counted, like myself, counted the Bears out in these games, right? Like, but they definitely were a player in this game, and it wasn't because of the defense back like in 1985. It was because Caleb Williams really had a great season. And I mean, that's I know nobody's trying to hear that right now, but I think there is something in terms of talking about the future for Chicago past this game. I think they will be a regular player for the future as long as Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson are in town.
They have a quarterback. They have a head coach. I think in a lot of ways, like any team that has that kind of shift, when they hired Ben Johnson out of Eberflus, there's always that, okay, is this actually going to work? Is this going to happen? And we see in the NFL a lot of times it does not, even though there might be a lot of publicity, might be a lot of, resumes involved. Sometimes it just doesn't happen. The Bears can be confident, their fans and the employees, everybody, it's working. Like, they are a real team now. They're going to be people's preseason picks to win the NFC next year, at least the division. They're in a hell of a division, so they're going to be talked about on equal footing with the Lions, with the Packers, with everybody else. They're for real. But to your second point, I think you screwed yourself a little bit when you mentioned that Kansas City game with Baker. Look what happened, 2 years later? Baker's out of town. They're playing the whole Deshaun Watson, sweepstakes. Now, I'm not saying the Bears management is as grossly as incompetent as the Browns management at the time, but it can change quick. It can shut quick. You can think you're close, and then you're not. It can happen in the blink of an eye. I'm not wishing any ill on anybody, but Caleb Williams, if he's playing week 1 next year, gets hit and comes up holding his elbow, then all of a sudden it's done.
Sure.
So they're out of people's control. And it's the NFL. Windows open and close very quickly. Just ask Dan Campbell that one. So yeah, I would think if I'm the Bears, it was a missed opportunity, but I'm happy where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of, what ifs. I completely get what you're saying, Rob. But yeah, I mean, the Browns obviously moved on from Baker, injury, the whole mess. I don't see that. I mean, nobody sees that, right? But just what we have to base it off of right now is the Bears have a head coach. They have a quarterback that it seems like the city of Chicago rocks with and can get them into a position where they're playing meaningful football in January. It's been a long time since we've talked about the Chicago Bears playing meaningful football in January. And I guess this is where I'm like, hey, I'm the good guy to remind everybody in Chicago that it won't be bad, back to this was just they found a journeyman quarterback and they ran some hope to the playoffs. No, they are building
Jay
something.
Cutler's chilling out on the sideline, yeah.
And I get it. As sports fans, and I know I know you have some thoughts on this, but as sports fans, the first thought is that sucked. And I guess because it wasn't Cleveland, right? I can talk from a little bit of an unbiased standpoint, but if I'm a Chicago Bears fan, I feel a lot better than a lot of franchises right now, even in that loss. You just went up against a team that we keep talking about passing the torch. Matthew Stafford, Sean McVay, Super Bowl champions. These guys have been there for a reason, and they weren't ready to, but the Bears didn't get smoked. They didn't look like they didn't belong. This was a game where for a moment there before that interception, Caleb Williams was going to take them to an overtime victory. I mean, a lot of what ifs, but that's my stance on it.
And again, Caleb Williams, I know it ended up being a loss, but I thought he had one of the plays in the entire playoffs, that fourth down, to send this thing into overtime. The dude ran backwards like 15 yards before throwing it in the end zone. I think to Cole Kmet, like that, like crazy. The one thing I'll say, though, I mean, to your point, Eli, they're the only team that lost this weekend where you don't have to immediately worry about their big picture future.
Right.
Oh, yeah. It's a victory that they lost, and they're not worried about firing Ben Johnson right now. Like, that's happening a lot.
Right. Like,
right.
If we want a hard look at, Buffalo sports radio right now, slow touch and go right now. And Houston, same deal. And I would say even San Francisco, just because you don't know what the health was, George Kittle's future, things like that. The only thing I'll say also about this particular matchup, you see with the Rams, at this moment, there's just a more complete team. I think with the Bears, some of they're younger guys. You want to see them kind of develop even more. No pun intended, DJ Moore, this was his best season, but you feel like he can do even more than what he has done this year. And that's just across the board with the Bears. I think right now with the Rams, as you have seen, if we did a head-to-head, side-by-side comparison, who's better? You would take Matthew Stafford over Caleb Williams. You would take the Rams backfield over the Bears backfield at this moment. You would take the Rams wide receivers over the Bears wide receivers right now. You would take the coach. And that's not to say that the Bears have a bad team. They have a great team, but the Rams are just better position-wise.
They're in a different spot, too. Like, the Rams are in the, hey, this is the last dance mode. If it is their last dance, who knows? I mean, Stafford, we got to be ready where the reigning NFL MVP could potentially retire. And legitimately, not like Andrew Luck retired. So like they're in a, our time is now, YOLO, that kind of thing. They got Devontae Adams long in the tooth, that, and plus two, let's face it, as great as that team is, they're going to have a massive reset when Matty Stafford does ride off into the sunset. If it's this season, if it's next season, whenever. So, yeah, I mean, that team's much more developed. They've been there. They've done that. And the Bears, yeah, it's still the young baby deer kind of learning how to cross the icy street. That's how I guess you can explain Caleb Williams throwing 3 interceptions today after throwing 7 all regular season. So, I mean, they just got to cut those turnovers down in the postseason. And I would think, but with a good draft and a good free agent run, they should just be right back where they should be. So,
right.
I mean, yeah, they're one of the few teams that isn't talking about should we fire this asshole right now. So, like, I don't know if that's happening right now in Houston, right now with DeMeco Ryans, because this is now we'll move on to the Patriots and Texans here. 3rd straight year the Texans have made the playoffs. 3rd straight year they've won a first-round game. 3rd straight year they got their asses kicked in the second round. And this time it was by the Patriots, 28-16. And, gentlemen, I don't know how much of the game you were actually watching play-to-play, but even in the second quarter, the Texans had a look of a team that was just beaten. They were out physical. The Patriots were hitting hard. I understand, neither offense was moving all that well for a while, but it just seemed like Houston was having a whole lot more problems functioning on the road in a pretty tough Foxborough Stadium. It was just kind of and I don't know if we want to talk about DeMeco Ryans' long-term future. I don't think that's on the table, but still, going through the same thing over and over again and somehow expecting a different result, gentlemen. I don't know how we feel about that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we need to look at DeMeco Ryans, to be honest, Rob. I mean, I think it's a matter of when you look at the Houston Texans, they fight for DeMeco Ryans. Now, today, at times, to your point, they did look like they were a little lost in Foxborough. But I think overall, the team and the culture of the Houston Texans has completely changed since DeMeco Ryans has taken over. Granted, they are still in a spot where they now are 0-6 in divisional round matchups. So that's not great, but they're not all under DeMeco Ryans. If you were sitting here saying DeMeco Ryans was 0-6 in divisional round games, we're talking about his 6-7 season in the league or as the Texans head coach, different conversation. I think the conversation needs to come to who's playing quarterback. CJ Stroud, right?
Yeah.
This is the guy who was phenomenal his rookie season. Phenomenal. They were actually, we remember the conversations. Bryce Young being the number 1 overall pick was being considered the biggest blunder in quite some time in NFL draft history to take Stroud or take Bryce Young over CJ Stroud. And now that decision doesn't look as crazy for Carolina because Bryce Young has had a better season this year than CJ Stroud. He's looked better. And right now, CJ Stroud just isn't taking care of the football. He's lost that confidence, that moxie that kind of like got him into the league and really took the league by storm. And that's the problem. Of course, the Texans were missing Nico Collins. He was in concussion protocol still. The number 1 receiver. Obviously, that's going to hurt you. You lose Dalton Schultz throughout the game. You lose Cade Stover, your second tight end throughout the game. I mean, they were wounded as well, but that's
My
no
boy
excuse.
Tank Dell, get well soon.
Yes,
I need
yes,
you in fantasy. I need
but
you.
my point, AA and Rob, is you can't throw 4 interceptions in a playoff game, all in the first half, mind you. That's how this thing started kind of really unwinding for the Texans in a defense that looked like, well, even if we stop them and hold them to 3, CJ might go get them right back on the field in a few plays. And that's just unacceptable in a playoff game from your expected franchise quarterback.
Well, you look at him too, even the way it trends over the career, 4,000 yards plus his rookie year, it has steadily gone down to 3,000 his third year. And they're going to have some serious questions. I think a 5th-year option is going to be a no-brainer for this quarterback. But along with that 5th-year option comes talk of an extension. And we've seen what happened in Miami. We've seen what happened with a few of these other teams that might have bet the farm on a quarterback that they should not have gone with. And the Texans, I think, are going to kind of be in the crosshairs for that decision coming up. But, yeah, you're right. 1 TD to 4 interceptions, barely over 200 yards. And those interceptions and those turnovers were the reason why you were screwed. I mean, you can point directly to those turnovers. And, yeah, I guess if that's going to be the theme of of all these games, it's going to be turnovers. If you turn the ball over, you will get screwed, especially in Foxborough, where the weather was not pleasant. I know the receivers are having trouble catching the ball, but still, I mean, all these other teams figure out a way to do it. So you got to figure out a way to do it yourself.
Stroud in these playoffs have been terrible. He's been garbage, and I know that wasn't the story last week. It was the Steelers' downfall. That was the main story last.
That got hidden. Yeah, Stroud. Yeah, Stroud. I think he fumbled twice on one play.
Right. Yeah, he fumbled. Stroud has been horrible. And, John McClain, a longtime writer down in Houston. Houston
also
Sports.
full of Hans Gruber.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
He tweeted out earlier today, would you give Stroud an extension for $55 to $60 million in the offseason? And Darryl Ryder of 92.3 The Fan, he quote tweeted, it was like, Browns found themselves in a similar spot with Baker Mayfield. And you know what?
They just blew up the franchise. Yeah.
And what was funny, the first tweet underneath that comment was from a Houston Texans fan. The answer is pretty simple. The Texans need to trade for Deshaun Watson, bring him home.
Oh no! I mean, get him out of Cleveland, sure.
Bring him home. You know what? Fine. No.
Double A, would you?
The Texans are in deep trouble. They are in deep trouble. Yeah. I'm not going to say
that defense was built to win the Super Bowl this year. It really was.
Yeah.
You had a question for me?
I was just going to ask your question to the question you posed to us from John McClain. Would you sign if you were making, signing the checks, Double A, would you sign CJ Stroud to a $55 to $60 million extension?
No.
And I think you're absolutely right.
No.
Because this is a guy that has continually went downhill, Double A and Rob, since he's been in the league. And he has benefited from, I'm not going to give all the credit to Nico Collins, but he's been pretty dang good. And you see how when he's out of a game, how the Texans look lost. And yes, the weather and everything like that. But New England also played in that same weather, and Drake May had a few passing touchdowns here today. So, and he was throwing some pretty good balls, right? That Keyshawn Butte touchdown, pretty dang good. At the end of the day, CJ Stroud seems to be the issue for Houston because everything around, like tight end, receivers, running backs, you put a quarterback in there, an experienced quarterback, they're going to be able to win football games and important ones. And to Rob's point, that defense led by Will Anderson, Derek Stingley, who he got burned for a touchdown today, but he's been pretty good all year long. they were ready to win a championship. They were right up there with the Denver Broncos in terms of defense. The New England Patriots, who they just played today, and on the NFC side, Seattle. I mean, yeah, it's just disappointing, and you got to look at it now because these clocks right on these quarterbacks. You have about 4 years to really gauge if you're gonna move into that second run with them. And CJ Stroud, I don't think, has done enough to warrant that. Maybe approve it 5th year, but not an extension.
Now
he'll be going into his 4th, so they'll have a couple of years to figure this out.
Right.
Now,
right.
To be fair, offensive line struggled. I mean, look at this backfield. I mean, Willie Marks and Nick Chubb. I mean, combined, if I got that right, 31 rushing yards between those two.
Yeah, I mean, they were missing.
That is unacceptable in a playoff game, especially in Foxborough. That's unacceptable.
But the fact of the matter is, and to your question posed a few seconds ago, if your quarterback is dog shit without his number one target on the lineup, he is not a $60 million quarterback.
Right.
Because when you pay him $60 million, unless you're Joe Burrow and they don't care about things like an offensive line or a defense, you're not going to get your primetime guys paid all the time. You're going to have to make some sacrifices. You're going to have to deal with a 4th round receiver rookie in the slot. You're going to have to deal with a 7th round running back behind you, or an unsigned rookie, or whatever, or somebody playing. You're going to have to hope that we find that solution at right guard. So, yeah, if you're dog shit without your primetime guys around you, then that tells me all I need to know. You are not a $60 million quarterback.
Yeah.
I will say this, though. I don't think Ryans, I don't think the head coach should be on the hot seat or anything like that. And I think because there's too many openings this year, I don't think he will be on the hot seat now. My concern, though, is if the Texans feel like they're stuck offensively next year, if they feel like, the offense in general is not moving and they feel like Stroud can do something and this backfield can do something and you have a defensive head coach, they might make a move this time next season. And I could see a scenario easily where obviously, again, we got to remember, Houston did not win the division. Jacksonville did. So you could have a real possibility that because you have a drop-off of Houston where they don't make the playoffs, what if the Colts actually get their stuff together?
Right. Yeah, that division's now suddenly competitive. Yeah.
Right.
The Texans are not in the playoffs next year. So this could be a huge downfall. We talk about the big picture. The situation is very, very ugly, I think, in Houston. It really is.
Yeah, and to that point, real quick, Rob, to that point, too, CJ Stroud and these young quarterbacks we talk about all the time, when do we declare them to be the guy? And 2 seasons ago, we were all declaring, CJ Stroud, the next rising star of the NFL at quarterback. And now we're having a conversation if he's going to be worth an extension by the end of next season at the latest, and that's crazy.
One other thing with Ryans, real quick, I'm sorry, that it was 4 minutes left in the game.
Yeah.
I know it's 4th and 18. You only have one timeout. You're going to punt the ball, and your season is on the line. You're going to punt the ball and basically throw the right flag in a playoff game.
The only reason why I didn't think about that in the moment was because that defense was performing a whole lot better than the offense, and I could see trusting that defense to get the ball back. But
I didn't trust it. I thought Joe Buck and Aikman, I thought they basically the way Buck called it too. It's like Texans are going to punt. It's like I think they knew you're throwing the right flag. Like to me, that's like, dude, your season's done. That's it. So.
Yeah. Go ahead, Rob. I know you had something to add as well about the Texans. I have a point after that about the Patriots because I do want to give them a little praise. I know they never get any praise out there in Foxborough, but go ahead.
No, I was just going to say with the Texans, they got rid of their OC in 24, Slovic. They hired a new guy this year. They've had a lot of upheaval on the offensive side of the ball the last couple of years. I don't know if that's a solution. Maybe if you do try to talk to some of these high-profile OCs that are out there, Mike McDaniel doesn't find a gig or something like that, if you try to come in and just try to really straighten that out. But, they got to figure it out in Houston because I think it's, they got a better offense than Cleveland, but it's still kind of the same vibe of, dude, we can't waste this defense. We can't waste this once in a generation kind of thing here because, we see how quick it goes away. So, yeah, the Texans got to figure it out. And, yeah, I'm glad that the Patriots championship drought is finally coming to an end. It's been 4 long years since these assholes were relevant in the NFL.
Unbelievable.
I'm glad they found it on their first try with the quarterback, on their second try with the head coach. And, here we are 3 years post-Belichick, and we're already back to normal.
It's like a rich businessman having one bad quarter, and they think the world's coming to an end. But we're right back on top.
The only praise I want to give them, because I'm not going to give them a ton, but the only praise I do want to give them is it just feels like a different vibe of Vrabel. I was actually talking to a few of my buddies before the game started today, and I said, you know what? I think a lot of people are done with the Patriots fatigue because it's not Tom Brady, it's not Bill Belichick, who, a lot of people saw as villains. Like, they didn't want to root for him. I get it. You're a
Pittsburgh shaped my entire adult life. No.
I get it. That's why I very clearly said most.
The Tuck rule happened. The Tuck game happened my freshman year of college.
Here's the thing. I think Drake May's more likable. I think Mike Vrabel is a lot of guys, rock with in terms of like just football dudes. They rock with Mike Vrabel, so I think they're a more likable Patriots team. Now, am I saying I'm rooting for them?
Wisdom tooth is more likable than Bill Belichick. It's not that hard.
Yeah,
I'm not saying.
I think to that point though, if you took the head coach and the quarterback, heck, the whole team, and renamed them, I don't know, the Tennessee Titans, I root for them.
That's what I'm saying.
But they're the New England Patriots. Like now, I'm sitting here. I'm kind of upset the Bears lost on a personal standpoint because I was actually rooting for the Bears. I'll root for whoever comes out of the NFC, but I've had enough of New England. They've been rich all my life. I
know. I get it. I'm just saying, and maybe I was the only one on the show 10 years ago to not despise Tom Brady, really. So now, I don't mind the Drake May, Mike Vrabel run. He's a football guy. You can rock with him.
They're all football guys.
No, Mike Vrabel's got his hands. He's ready to go. He's like dude, Double A, you saw him in the third quarter. Rain, snow, just covering his hair. He's locked in, and then you don't get that from Kevin Stefanski.
No, Eli, you know what I thought of in the third quarter? All that rain damaging the headsets. I was thinking that like a broadcaster. All that.
You're right. Now we want to do that on the Inside Edge Network remotes. We're going to take great care of our headsets and everything like that.
I'm watching D'Amico Ryan's I'm like, dude, you're going to get sick. Like,
yeah.
Just rain dripping off his bald head.
That's funny.
See, for me, and it's not the players or the coaches. Those faces have changed over the years. And yeah, we're going to say Vrabel's a football guy. Like, not every head coach in the NFL spends 18-hour days on the sport and, breaks up marriages and screws up relationships.
You know what I mean.
He's a bigger guy.
The phrase you're looking for, and I mean this in the nicest way possible, is meathead. That's what you're looking for. It's someone who can walk off a pretty harsh head injury and be fine.
Hold up. I got to pop. Hold up. Now I'm curious about something. This is bigger than anything we're going to talk about tonight.
Wait, it took you 33 minutes?
He's on my NFL Live right now. You fucking need it.
Before your question, it took you 33 minutes to be curious about anything we've talked about thus far?
Who, me?
Yeah, I'm asking.
No, because I have a question.
Okay.
But okay. Yeah.
Can a football guy be does he have to be like a big, meaty, meat-looking person?
I just think when you look at
Mike McDaniel is a football guy and he's a dork.
I think you guys know what I mean. I guess.
No, I don't know what you mean, Eli. Does he? Does Mike?
Not every NFL head coach has played in the NFL.
Mike Vrabel looks like he could be the football coach in Revenge of the Nerds.
So
all I'm saying
is Mike Vrabel, is he like a man's man? Is that what you're saying, Eli?
What I'm saying is Mike Vrabel played the sport all the way up, won a Super Bowl as a player, and now is a coach and a successful coach. So he is through and through a football guy.
Okay.
Okay, can I try? Okay, I think we'll finish this here.
No, I think just because he's a big guy, he has meat. I think that's what appeals to you.
You're sounding like Big E Langston over here.
I'm messing around. Let's go to the next.
Go ahead, Rob. What do we got next?
Well, no, I was going to say before my point was stopped completely in its tracks. It's not the coaches or the players or even the owner. It's the shit, and I'm sorry if people are listening in Patriots land. It's the shit-eating grin from the fans. It's the cockiness from the fans. It's the entitlement from the fans. It's that damn 15-year-old that was sitting down at the parade going, "Oh, I'm only 15 years old and I've been at 18 championship parades." Yeah, I never wanted to smack a child until I saw that picture. So it's the fans. That's more of what I'm more annoyed with than any of this crap.
You ain't getting an argument out of me for that one. You're 100% right.
I said no.
And with the Patriots getting back and ready to go, we know that Yankee fans and Warrior fans all across this great country of ours are thrilled as shit with the Patriots finally winning.
I'm so tired of the Patriots. Like I said, Eli, you're right. This is a very likable team.
Yeah.
They're very likable.
You guys are like,
it's who they work for.
I said the word. All I know, fellas, is I just know I can't say the words New England Patriots on the show, or you both turn in the corner and Eli Moon, and I get a little nervous, man, because I'm just saying they're a good football team and they might be a dynasty again. That's all I'm saying.
Because they're gonna book their ticket to the Super Bowl right now. You think Jarrett Stidham is gonna beat them next week?
Yeah, and we can use that as a nice thing to move on to the Saturday action here. Jarrett Stidham, the reason why Double A is bringing that up, Bo Nix, starting quarterback of the Broncos, broken bone in his ankle in overtime. He is done for the year. Sean Payton, to his credit, waited about 10 minutes after the game was over to let everybody know that little factoid. It will be Jarrett Stidham, who Sean Payton has, quote, as much trust in as he does Bo Nix, playing. They will be moving on because they beat the Buffalo Bills again in overtime in heartbreaking fashion. If you're a Bills fan, 33-30. Jarrett Stidham, yes, will be starting the AFC title game. And guys, I don't know. It feels weird for me to start with the losing team on this game, but if you saw Josh Allen talk, if you saw any of the Bills talk after the game, that might have been as bad as I've ever felt for any player of any team that I'm not directly like rooting for, heart, completely invested in. Like for just another team, watching what the Bills have to deal with year in and year out, something always goes wrong. It's not even Patrick Mahomes this time. Buffalo is now sitting on their tuchus and watching the rest of the playoffs and asking themselves, what if?
Yeah, and it is sad, fellas. I mean, I'm going to be very careful here since I've just been attacked for the last 15 minutes, but I'm going to show some emotion and say it was very sad for the Buffalo Bills. It was very sad for Josh Allen. Hearing Deion Dawkins, experienced offensive lineman, been there with Josh Allen for a while now, him breaking down in tears, Brandon Cooks breaking down in tears. I mean, multiple people just really showing their emotion for Josh Allen. Josh Allen crying at the podium, feeling he let his teammates down. That does hurt watching that as a human being who knows that he has given his all for Buffalo. He is trying to win this Super Bowl. He is trying to bring one to that city, to that franchise, because if they get one, they'll chill for another 15, 20 years. They will completely give the Bills a little bit of leeway. And he's trying to get there, and it's so tough. And this has got to be the toughest one for him yet, because it's not Mahomes, it's not Burrow, Jackson. Didn't lose any of the top guys. I mean, all due respect to the Denver Broncos, this was like really their second rodeo against the Buffalo Bills. And for Bo Nix, his second rodeo, really the first time that they're being discussed as an actual playoff contender, Super Bowl contender. So this one's got to be the toughest one for Josh Allen. But just from a football standpoint, we're saying what if. Truly, there is no what ifs because Josh Allen turned the ball over so many times in that game. Mm-hmm. And he takes
the
ownership.
Last one I think that people are picking about.
And yes, and he'll take ownership about it. And yeah, we can discuss that interception. We can definitely discuss it, Rob. But still, sloppy throughout the game. That allowed the Broncos to stay in it. You get the lead early on, put themselves in position to obviously knock out Buffalo. So, it was probably the worst time for Josh Allen to turn the ball over that many times in a game. And that's really what determined it here for
Buffalo. The thing too, is he's been pretty good with turnovers the last couple of years. That was kind of his Achilles heel as a younger player, and that he that's kind of what made him take that leap forward, was getting rid of those interceptions and a lot of that stuff. But yeah, it came back to bite him big time. But yeah, that last very controversial interception, which set up the field goal for the Broncos to win the game, I think that's going to be the lasting memory in a lot of Bills fans' eyes.
Well, also the pass interferences that the defense give. Look, listen, and I will credit Eli. I gave him a hard time about this yesterday, but the moment the game ended, Eli texted in our group chat, "McDermott, is he done?" And I texted back, I'm like, "Who's left?" Like, maybe if John Harbaugh would have waited a day or two, maybe that opening's there. But right now, they do not have a winning culture, a championship culture. And I think it's worth blowing it up, at least on the culture standpoint. I think so. They don't have what it takes to go all the way. They just don't. When your defense cannot, they can't play clean football at the end, and now you got Denver passing you by, they're never going to win a championship. Culture. They're not. And
I think saying they don't have a championship culture makes it sound like that it's the Browns facility or the Raiders facility. They
are the Browns in the playoffs. They just lose in the playoffs all the time. This Bills team, hold up. This Bills team had no reason at all to not get the job done, or at least appear in the Super Bowl. They blew it. They did. They blew it.
Well, the Broncos played better than they did. I mean, we're not handing these games over to anybody, and I'm not trying to excuse the whole, yes, they should be examining things. They should be trying to figure things out. But to say they don't have a championship culture when they've been in the playoffs and winning games for 6 straight years, when they have those kind of guys who are crying when talking about their quarterback, that sounds like a group of guys who are pretty friggin' unified. That sounds like a group of guys who are pretty ready to go. You just said that they are the Cleveland.
No, I'm not saying they're not unified. They can't go to the Super Bowl. They haven't been to the Super Bowl.
Because a lot of weird shit's happened and a lot.
No. When it comes to January football, the Bills suck. End of story. They're trash. They're garbage. They're terrible in the month of January. End of story. And their fans will tell you that.
I don't know how many of their fans are looking to get rid of McDermott. I don't know if this is a Tomlin-Pittsburgh situation or anything like that, but that's to answer your question, who are you going to get to do this? Who would be your solution to bring in to win a Super Bowl in Buffalo?
Yeah, I think they still have options. I mean, obviously it would have been ideal if they would have been able to look at coaching candidates a lot earlier, but there's still a ton of coordinators out there. If this Buffalo job opened, real quick, let me answer the question. Let me answer the question. Let me answer the
Daniel. Sean McDermott or Chris Shula. Sean McDermott
Rob,
or Mike McCarthy.
Rob, let me answer the question because you asked me a question.
McDermott right now.
I would take all of them because here's the reality of the situation. If the Buffalo Bills job opened up right now, all these coaches are going to flock to go coach Josh Allen. So that's the reality of the situation. You asked a question about Sean McDermott, who they're replacing. Anybody would take the job. Any of the top coaching candidates that are available, and like Double A said, if Harbaugh was still available, he'd be looking at Buffalo.
Who's the top coaching candidate right now? Stefanski's gone. Who's the top coaching candidate?
Mike McDaniel, Clint Kubiak. You talk about Udinski. You talk about a bunch of guys.
You talk about the lack of championship culture. You're going to bring in Mike McDaniel from a team that doesn't have championship culture.
What is the championship culture with Sean McDermott? We're not necessarily saying that at the end of the day, Josh Allen is the reason they're going to have a championship culture. The coach just needs to not put them in a position where they keep running into the same wall. They have had 8 postseason appearances with Josh Allen. 2 of them have been AFC championship losses to Patrick Mahomes. The rest have been wild card or divisional round losses. That is not a good track record for a coach. And we're sitting here talking about, should we talk about DeMeco Ryans and the Houston Texans? He's not even into his 4th, 5th year, but yet we're going to give Sean McDermott a pass for not doing it. And this was the year. We were talking a month ago about how this is the Bills' year. They cannot mess it up because it's a bunch of young up-and-coming teams and the Buffalo Bills. So now the fact that it is over and we're giving Sean McDermott a pass, Buffalo can keep playing the same game and they're going to win. My mom and dad used to say growing up, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. If the Buffalo Bills want to keep getting the same prize, they will keep Sean McDermott for the next 5 years.
If they get rid of, and this isn't Pittsburgh, I know Tomlin's legacy has been great out there, so on and so forth. It is a prestigious job, but Pittsburgh's not looking to win a Super Bowl next year. The Bills are. And I don't know if bringing in anybody off of no notice like this, if it's a McDaniel, if it's a McCarthy, if it's a Chris Shula, if it's a 30-year-old coordinator from the Rams, if it's maybe short of Kurt Signetti, short of Signetti, that would be it. But I don't see doing this, because if you don't win the Super Bowl, guess what? We're going to fire you right now, because you know what? That's the standard. And if you don't win the Super Bowl every year now, or if you don't win the Super Bowl right now with Josh Allen, you are fired. So let's ready to go through coaches like toilet paper for the next 3 or 4 years.
Go ahead, Double A.
Right now, they're not even getting to the Super Bowl.
No, they're not.
Yeah,
that's the problem. Right now, Sean McDermott is the Doug Collins of the NFL. He's a great coach. He's going to get you to this point. They need leadership in there that's going to get them to the next level. And Josh Allen, again, is in his prime, like right here, right now. They got to do whatever. And James Cook. Those two, they got to do whatever it takes to get them to the Super Bowl. And the fact that they couldn't do it this year without Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, they didn't have to face Aaron Rodgers in the playoff, all these names. The fact that they couldn't get to even the AFC Championship game, New England is going to pass them by.
But the thing is that we're giving you're giving Josh Allen this free pass.
He's their franchise quarterback.
What's up?
He's their franchise quarterback.
But it's not.
It's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to replace the coach than the quarterback.
The point that I'm making, though, is that if it's the quarterback's fault and you switch out the coach, you still got the quarterback whose fault it is.
Josh Allen,
this is the change just to make a change.
Because Rozycki, we are not playing dumb here. This is the worst game Josh Allen has had in his playoff career. He is most often than not excelled and been in a shootout with Patrick Mahomes and just didn't get the ball last. That's why
283, 3 tutties, 2 interceptions. By the way, that's his worst career game.
Yes, correct. So Josh Allen clearly isn't the problem. The problem is the guy that is leading them as the head coach that has had multiple playoff appearances and consistently losing the divisional round, unless he gets a chance to lose to Patrick Mahomes in the AFC Championship game and gets to play another week. So at the end of the day, I get it. We have a conversation all the time about should John Harbaugh have been let go? Should Mike Tomlin have, he stepped down? I get it. But at the end of the day, should these guys have a longer leash? I think 8 seasons is a pretty good estimate. If you've been to the dance so many times, but you can't get to the real dance, then maybe you're not the guy and they need a reset.
One other thing, too, about Sean McDermott. What was his previous job before becoming the head coach of the Bills?
I honestly don't know.
His previous job, he was the defensive coordinator of the Carolina Panthers. I kind of cheated. I looked it up on Wikipedia. But he was the defensive coordinator. His background is defense. His defense has choked in the playoffs every single year. So even from a defensive standpoint, he has no leg to stand on. None.
Yeah.
So even if they go crazy and just say, screw it, we'll just elevate Joe Brady to be the head coach. I'm not saying they should, but even your head coach is not even representing your team in terms of his strength, which is defense. And from that standpoint,
why, if you're looking to change the culture, would you promote from within?
Huh?
Why, if you were changing the culture, would you promote from within?
You got to do something.
Because Joe Brady also brings culture. Joe Brady also brings
that. Sean McDermott ain't. My whole point is Sean McDermott ain't it. He ain't it. If I'm a Bills fan, I am burning stuff down. He ain't it. And the fact that you lost that game on yesterday, inexcusable. Honestly, I know the Steelers are going through stuff right now. I get that, but in terms of expectation, to your point earlier, in terms of Super Bowl expectation, realistic Super Bowl expectations, the Bills had the worst loss in these playoffs out of anybody.
Yeah. I mean, and to the Joe Brady point, he does bring a lineage in terms of or a history of, hey, he did work with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow obviously has had a ton of success. So that's why he's tied to. He's had a lot of success with Josh Allen since he's been over there as the OC. So Usually not promoting within. It's not the right move. But I wouldn't be opposed to Joe Brady because Joe Brady's, guess what, a head coaching candidate when this whole coaching carousel opened up for a ton of teams. So why wouldn't the
other
Bills
one to
look
look
to
at too would be Brian Dable.
Yeah.
He was the former OC out there before he got his gig in New York.
Right.
But no, like all I'm saying is that you got a perennial team that's winning 12, 13 games a year. You got a team that's in the playoffs every year. You got to be careful when you want to pull the plug on this whole thing because, again, we could just talk about how quick it can all go away. But one stat that will not help my argument at all, I did not share this with you guys. The Bills are the fourth team in NFL history to win a playoff game in 6 straight years. The other 3 teams who have done it have at least 3 Super Bowls in that run. 70s Steelers, 90s Cowboys, and the Pats with Brady. So,
yeah,
I mean, it's getting to the point where, I mean, something's going to have to happen, but they got to think long and hard, and they might be victims right now. I understand they're a cherry job. I know that they would be one of the better jobs out there, but they would be becoming, the 11th team to be looking for it, no, a 10th team to be looking for a coach this year. I know 2 have already been full. But, we're talking about a third of the league getting all, jumbled up here at this point, maybe half the league at this rate. So
and that's the reason why Matt LaFleur and the Packers agreed to an extension, actually.
Yeah. Is it, or do you want to say drag your heels for another year and maybe talk to Marcus Freeman after another year at Notre Dame? Or,
all I'm saying, guys, because I know we have one more game to get into here and a whole lot more to talk about on the show.
No, we don't really have a whole lot to talk about with that next game. The game-winning score happened 8 seconds in.
Fair. What I will say is, if you're the Buffalo Bills, you just don't want to end up in a Marvin Lewis Cincinnati Bengals situation where you hang on too long. And I know Marvin Lewis didn't get as far as McDermott, but at the end of the day, you hang on with Marvin Lewis too long, and the Bengals. We're like, when do we, he keeps getting us to the playoffs. Like we keep getting there. Like we're having success. And so you don't want to end up in that position where you're just always the second best in the AFC to Patrick Mahomes or Burrow or whoever. Well, that's where I fear it's going.
Thing is, though, is like if you're going to be firing people for not being as good as Patrick Mahomes, you're going to be firing a lot of people.
Yeah.
Real quick about Denver. Bo Nix, boy, that story sucks. Just in general, that sucks. Yeah. In fact, the craziest stat about the Broncos, they are the only team in the NFL this season and last season to have not given their backup quarterback any regular season or playoff reps.
Dude.
It's Sean Payton. With Tom Moore retiring, the old Colts offensive coordinator, somebody asked him, said, do you give the backup quarterback any reps in practice? And he said plainly, he goes, if Peyton's hurt, we're fucked, and we don't practice fucked. So I think, I think that might be the Sean Payton school kind of thing. The real one little closing note on the AFC, though. The Patriots are 8-0 how does this work here? The Patriots, they're going to be hosting the AFC title game.
Denver will be.
Yeah, Broncos.
Yes.
The Broncos are 8-0 at home. The Patriots are 8-1 on the road.
Wow, that's a good one, man. This is the 2 best teams in the AFC, and
I mean, that's the whole thing. Is that I don't think we wanted to admit it the whole season, but these have kind of been the 2 best teams in the AFC.
And I know we're putting a bookend on the AFC, Rob, and I'll kick it back to you. I do want to just give a shout out to Nick Foles because we're talking about backup quarterbacks. I don't know if you guys saw about 4 hours ago on Twitter/X, where you can also follow us on the Inside Edge Net. At Inside Edge Net. Nick Foles tweeted out and he said, "No for the Broncos and their fans. I know it has been an emotional 24 hours. I feel for Bo and the team, and I'm sending prayers for a strong recovery. A positive note going into the game versus the Patriots is that they struggle against backup quarterbacks in championship-type games." So, Jarrett Stidham, time to make a household name for yourself.
Oh, I hope there's a ceremony like knighting him before the game. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be the 2 best teams and probably the 2 best coaches right now in the AFC. At least, I don't know. All due respect to Andy Reid, but these are 2 guys that are
sweet, man.
But yeah, moving on. I know we don't have only a few more minutes left with this particular segment here. As I said with the other game that happened, the nightcap last night, Double A, I think, made a couple references to just kind of glossing over it here. Rashid Shaheed for the Seattle Seahawks, who I think might have the coolest name in pro sports.
Yes, he does.
I mean, like, he sounds like he should be a private eye. But he's not a private eye. He is a receiver and a kick returner for the Seahawks. He took it to the house 108 yards at the start of the game. And little did everybody know that touchdown was the game-winning score. Seattle wins 41-6 over the beleaguered San Francisco 49ers, the fourth string of the San Francisco 49ers defense. Yet, gentlemen, it just seems like a case where Seattle played, Sam Darnold A+ ball, and the 49ers, yet again, they are always beat up. Yet again, they are sputtering into the playoffs, and yet again, they're like the Bills, probably wondering what if.
Double, you want to take this?
Yeah. Was supposed to play.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what was that story? Walking in, like, we were all of a sudden Thursday. Sam Darnold's on the injury report, and he is questionable to play. And then Saturday morning, Sam Darnold might not play at all. And then all of a sudden, he looks perfectly fine.
Paging Dr. Toradol.
Yeah. Now the one thing to keep an eye on, right, guys? Sam Darnold did take care of business in the Seahawks. I mean, there really isn't too much to break down in this game, except for, a lot of scoring from the Seahawks. Really bad game for the Niners. Like Rob said, they had Jake Tongas in as their starting tight end. He even goes down in relief of Kittle, so now they're down to the third-string tight end. McCaffrey was, he's been healthy pretty much all year. He started dealing with some injury effects at the end of the year. He even talked about after the game how this has been a really tough last year for him. And so it's cool to see him be vulnerable because that guy is a beast. And he had a great year, but obviously gets injured. You're just seeing them go one by one, just injured. And it's like, man, dude, can Kyle Shanahan ever have a healthy team? As far as the Seahawks, real quick, though, and Sam Darnold, because we were talking about Darnold in Double A, Rob, I want to bring a note here. When it comes to the Seahawks, they didn't have to throw the ball a lot, right, in that game. Obviously, Shaheed running the kickoff return to start the game off for a touchdown gets you in that momentum. But Sam Darnold went 12 of 17, which is good, but 17 pass attempts, 124 passing yards, a touchdown, no picks, sacked twice. We didn't really see him test that oblique, in my opinion, to the point where if this is you're going to have to throw the ball 40 times in a game, which he's had to do this year, is he going to be able to win that type of game right now with his oblique? I think there's still some questions about that. And I'm not trying to draw so much attention to the oblique injury, but 17 pass attempts and a cushion.
Sure he can't lift his arm right now. I would not be surprised because Toradol, there is a price to pay after that, and I'm sure that's exactly what they did was just drugged him up. And who knows if he pulled it up even more while he was throwing? I'm sure he did. He's not going to be healthy even if they go to the Super Bowl. This is going to be an issue.
Right.
Because we remember, that kind of oblique, you're talking about guys throwing the ball and everything like that. That's a big, big kind of motion. But handed to the Seahawks for not putting their quarterback in a position that he needed to win the game. 175 yards on the ground, 3 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah.
We'll go with that. And, strong defense, good running game. We saw the Steelers take it with a healthy Ben Roethlisberger second year to a Super Bowl. You can do that if you have that kind of a team. And, if they can play their kind of game, if they can kind of keep control of the pace, then, they can go all the way, which is a weird thing to say about a Seahawks team.
Well, I only have 2 thoughts on this game on top of what you guys have already mentioned. Number one, Kenneth Walker, again, you guys mentioned the 3 touchdowns that he's had. Can one game shoot Kenneth Walker up to the top of the fantasy football leaderboard?
We know how crazy fantasy football people are. That could very well happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Wondering the consistency there. The other thing, though, to your question, the Rams defense, I think they're going to very much test that because what they're going to do, they're going to load up the box against Walker, against that Seattle backfield. But it's hard to believe because, again, I was the number one critic on this show about Seattle, and yet I picked them to go to the Super Bowl. Also picked Buffalo.
I picked the Niners, Double A. It's okay.
I know.
Rams, Steelers.
Come on, Denver. You still got me. Go ahead, Double A.
But what was it back? What it was a Thursday night? I think it was week 16 when the Rams and Seahawks. What was it, 38-35? And it was the Seahawks that put it together. Now, to your guys' point, will Sam Darnold be able to throw the ball effectively? I think the Rams are going to test that. And I think you're going to see a lower scoring game next week. But I think that's going to be an exciting contest. And, yeah, the Niners, I mean, now what? Because what's going on with George Kittle? And Kittle's older, too. Like, what's the status for next year? If he's going to even play, he might retire. He might call it a day. And then CMC, you just never know.
Yeah.
And the other question.
Played a full season for the first time in 4 years, by the way.
I know. Mac Jones is not going to be on the roster.
Right.
Like, Mac Jones is going to be picked up by a team somewhere to probably start somewhere across the NFL. So do you fully trust in Brock Purdy to take that next step? And he didn't look too hot either tonight or last night either. He just
But in fairness, and I'm not trying to make excuses for the 49ers, but they also went into the season thinking they were going to have Brandon Ayuk as their wide receiver one. That's why they moved off of Deebo Samuel to progress at the receiver position and just felt it was time to move on from Deebo. And Ayuk's not been there all year. You heard Kyle Shanahan, talk about how, we haven't seen Ayuk since, he left the facility, to take care of what he got to take care of. And it's just been a mess. Ricky Pearsall has been hurt at times. Juwan Jennings kind of trying to lead the way there for the Niners. You mentioned Double-A George Kittle. He's 32 years old now. And an Achilles injury is pretty freaking serious, but I think he loves the game enough. And I think the Niners are in the spot as opposed to the Bills, where we just talked about a team that is in a weird spot. Kyle Shanahan, if they were to fire him, there's not even talks of that, but if they were to fire him, every coach in the league would be worried about their seat pretty much, besides a few. Because he is so dang good. The fact that he is getting the most out of these teams every year, I get he hasn't got the championship out of it, but I don't think there's too many questions, Double-A, except for health. They are going to get Fred Warner back. They are going to get Nick Bosa back. So they are going to be a lot healthier on the defensive side of the football. So I think they just got to run it back in San Fran.
No, I'm only laughing because you mentioned Kyle Shanahan. I know which team he would not go to.
Yeah.
And there's how many slides, Rob, was it? How many?
I think it was 36 or something. By the way, you know the story about that. When he was doing that and getting that ready to go, when he was the OC here, he had his head coach put it, or his wide receivers coach put it together. Do you know who his wide receivers coach was?
Yeah,
Mike McDaniel.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that's going to do anything or any. Mike McDaniel might be like, should I be the OC of the Lions or the head coach of the Browns? And we might be seeing him in Honolulu Blue when the season starts.
Yeah, other than that, I have no other analysis of this game. This was a complete, beat down.
If anything, like, and I'm not a doctor, I'm not an MD or anything. I don't know anything about their training staff out there. Maybe they have to look at their training staff because they are hurt like this I'm talking about Frisco. Every year they're hurt. And I don't know if, I would almost say the same thing about the Cavaliers, the Cleveland Cavaliers basketball wise. The injuries are just always a problem. Is there something that we're doing that we should be, or, that we shouldn't be doing? Is there something that we're not doing that we should be doing? What's going on? Because I know it's football and, week 1, 3/4 of the league is hurt. But the 49ers seem to be hit by that in a way that not a lot of other teams are consistently hit by that. But again, it could be bad luck. I don't know. Again, I'm not qualified. I don't know anything about their medical team out there or anything like that. But it just, at this rate, I'm looking at everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a tough situation out there in San Francisco. It really is. I mean, especially because even if you look at like your normal jobs and stuff, you got somebody who's consistently hurt and things like that. I mean, you can't really fire them. It's tough. It's tough.
And you just can't get it off the ground. But I mean, that's something they're going to have to figure out. But that's not something a GM can fix or a head coach or whatever. But it just is what it is. But that was the NFL divisional weekend. We'll be talking next week about the conference championship games That'll be New England paying a visit to Denver at 3 o'clock on Sunday. And it'll also be Los Angeles going to Seattle. Do we want to call that the NFC title game or the NFC West championship game? We'll figure that one out. But
it's the two best teams.
For those of you scoring at home, Seattle's opening up as a 2.5-point favorite, and New England at home, or actually on the road with the backup quarterback, is opening up at a 5.5-point favorite. So we will get into, next time we talk, we'll know who the Super Bowl is going to be. So that'll be fun. I'm hoping the Rams go because that's the only chance I have of actually doing something right. But
I'm a Jared Stidham fan. Right, for the next 2 weeks, I'm a Jared Stidham fan because I took Denver to go against San Fran and San Fran to win. But I'm just making an alteration here.
Check this out, and I'll just throw this out there before we get out of here. And we'll not even count Jared Stidham. We'll just say Drake May, Bo Nix, Matt Stafford, and Sam Darnold. That's your Final Four.
I love it. I love it.
I have one other thing, and we can actually. It's just a thought, and I threw it out before we start the show, and I didn't want to forget. So that 2018 quarterback class, amazing class, unless you took Josh Rosen, Arizona. But Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and, of course, Sam Darnold and Josh Rosen. If you would have said Sam Darnold would be the first quarterback from that class to go to the Super Bowl,
on his 15th.
Do you believe in miracles?
I mean, a Jets quarterback might go to the Super Bowl here. That's what we're saying here, folks. Yeah, I mean, and that kind of shows, though, how much the league is kind of turning around, though. I mean, we're not dealing with the Rodgers and Brady's and Roethlisberger's and Drew Brees and Philip Rivers, slight exception. But we're not dealing with that old guard anymore. We're trying to find, and we're learning who to trust in this new guard. Is Caleb Williams always going to have his turnover problems? Is it going to be Josh Allen, basically? Is Drake May going to be the second coming of Tom Brady? Is Bo Nix going to be, a guy that you can trust in the playoffs long term? Matt Stafford, okay, he's like the one exception to the rule. He was playing against, Brady and all those guys back in the day. But, he's the one old hand. But we're learning who to trust now. We're learning track records. We're gathering data. And it looks like, to Double A's point, this 18 quarterback class is going to be around for a while. The 2019-20, even up to the last couple of years. The C.J. Strouds and the Bryce Youngs of the world, they're going to have something to say about it too. So we're trying to figure out what's going on, and it'll be fun to watch, and it'll get to be fun to see some new blood in the Super Bowl this time around.
That's what makes these playoffs exciting. It's just new blood. That's the part that's been really exciting about these games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think actually, if you were to put the Hoosiers into this group of four, I don't think they're the youngest team. So we'll I'm sure talk about the college football playoff a little bit later on in the show. But we'll take a quick break here. We'll go through Brown's head coaching watch. I know Kevin Stefanski went to the reaping earlier this week. He has since been hired, actually. He wasn't out of work for all that long. But we'll get into that one. We'll get into John Harbaugh and the Giants. We'll get into Mike Tomlin and the Steelers. And we will get into the other third of the league that is looking for a head coach in this next segment. Then a little bit later on, we got news and notes. Got some college football news, got some college basketball news, unfortunately for us on this one here. And then maybe we might even talk a little baseball too coming out of here. But this is the main event on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. I am Rob Rozycki. We got Eli Moon, we got Double A Anthony Alford, and we'll be back. Welcome back to the main event here on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. I am Rob Rozycki. We got AA Anthony Alford and Eli Moon. We no video coming in today, so yes, we didn't have that 15 seconds to get our shit together. So speaking of getting our shit together, though, the Browns are trying to get their shit together, trying to hire a head coach. They have talked to they've been linked to about 15 different people, it seems like, in the last week or so. Since the parting of Kevin Stefanski, who has since been picked up in Atlanta in the same job. But yeah, we're still on head coach watch. We got Mike McDaniel coming in for a second interview. We got Mike Udinski is the guy's name.
Grant Udinski. Grant
Udinski. He is 30 years old, and he's going to be interviewing for the second time for the Browns head coaching gig, and a couple of other guys. So where are we standing right now with the Browns and trying to find out who's going to be driving this garbage truck?
That's not nice. You're in the same spot as we are, kind of, as a Steelers fan.
I mean,
just saying. It's not very nice.
Losing season in 20 years, but yeah, I understand that.
That's the past. You guys got to find somebody that can do that again now, unfortunately. Anyways, about the Browns.
Pass the buck here.
Yeah.
We know where we're at.
About the Browns, and we have a lot of different discussion about them, obviously, week by week. I'm kind of starting to see something between the Browns and Grant Udinski. Guys, they had a meeting over the weekend through like a Zoom call, a video call. They have an allotted 3 hours that they can have for these interviews. They went the full 3 hours with Grant Udinski. Reminder, Jaguars offensive coordinator, like Rob was mentioning, 30 years old, would be the youngest NFL head coach in NFL history if he were hired by the Browns or any of these teams for that matter. But the Browns loved him so much with that meeting, video call. They brought him back Monday for a meeting. I believe it was Monday or Tuesday. They have a meeting with Grant Udinski, and that's something very, very interesting because that's such a quick turnaround for the Browns to have a video call with him and then bring him in. And like Rob said, they've definitely tried out a ton of different options. They're going to have a lot of in-person interviews this week. We're wondering if Jim Schwartz is going to get the promotion up to head coach. But if you ask me, AA, as my fellow Browns fan for a moment here, let's make history, my bro. Let's hire Grant Udinski, because what is the worst thing that happens? We lose a lot of games. Well, we just did that the last
back-to-back years.
We've lost a lot of games in franchises. Since me and AA have been on this earth and have watched Cleveland Browns football, Rob, there's one constant. Dropping the ball. Yes, for a better term, losing. And so I'm okay making history, because last time a team went out and hired a 30-year-old, it was Sean McVay and the Los Angeles Rams. And they've done pretty well for themselves, considering we just talked about them heading back to the NFC Championship. Now, am I saying that Grant Udinski is Sean McVay? Not quite. But a lot of people around the league rave about how he is very smart on the offensive side of the ball. He's moving towards, this modern offensive game right now that we're seeing these coaches that we just talked about, Ben Johnson and his creative mind, these coaches that are really catching defenses off guard. Udinski could be that for the Browns. I get it. They still have a ton of holes when it comes to the roster on offensively, receiver, the line, I get it. But I think the first start is getting a guy that at least knows how to scheme guys open. And that's Udinski, at least in my opinion, AA.
Yeah, I think when you look at kind of the evaluation across the board, especially with Grant Udinski, if there's somebody out there who the Browns feel, or most of the league feels, maybe this guy's a year away or 2 years away from being a legitimate head coaching candidate, the Browns are in such a hole right now that they want to grab the best guy now, even if he's a year or two, even if it's a year or two too early. Mm-hmm. Because at least in their eyes, he can grow into that role.
Wells agrees with waiting on a year or two for him to grow into the role.
Exactly. Yeah. But to me, though, it seems right now, and the Browns still got to do the Rooney Rule, where they got to bring people in the building. They've done virtual interviews. They got to bring people in. So Mike McDaniel will probably, even though I don't like the guy, he'll probably come in to satisfy that rule. You might hear Antonio Pierce. You might hear him in that factor. But to me, it's going to come down right now to either Udinski or Jim Schwartz. And it seems to me that Schwartz is only in the conversation to be a head coach only because he's been interviewing at other places.
And he's their safety school.
He's the safety net. Now, in a perfect world, as the Browns have expressed already, they would like to keep Schwartz as the defensive coordinator, but they feel that if things don't work out, they'll make him the head coach regardless. So, look, I mean, I don't know. So I don't care who it is. Pick the right guy. I know that's a cop-out answer. That's a terrible answer.
I mean, because it is tough because you didn't know.
Right guy.
Nobody knew who Sean McVay was when they plucked him as the next head coach of the Rams. Nobody knew who Mike Tomlin was. Nobody knew who Bill Cowher was. Most of the time you have these new head coaches kind of come out of nowhere. Now, what I'm seeing with the Browns more than anything, if you look at the names that they have brought in, there's a few outliers. Jim Schwartz and Mike McDaniel are kind of the two ones that come to mind. But if it's the Jesse Minters of the world, the Adrian Durdays of the world, the Dan Pitchers of the world, the Todd Munkins of the world, these are guys that don't have a whole lot of street credit in the NFL. They don't have a resume as a head coach. They don't have a lot of weight. And when it comes down to things like Jim Schwartz is going to be your defensive coordinator. Shedeur Sanders might be your starting quarterback. And these are things that may not be negotiable. It seems like more than anything, and again, the two outliers, Jim Schwartz, he's in the system. It's a little bit of a thing. Mm-hmm. Mike McDaniel seems like somebody who is very good at kind of just being told what he's supposed to be doing here.
Apparently,
and you even go back to what Andrew Berry said in the dismissal press conference. They're looking for a partner. They want someone who is going to be, at the very least, a cog in this system, a partner for them to run this team with. At the most, they're looking for someone to do what they're fucking told. And It seems like that's the general focus here with the head coach. I don't think Harbaugh was ever on the table. I don't think McCarthy's on the table. I don't think any of these guys that have any sort of NFL track record is on the table. I think it's going to be one of these younger guys. If it is, I know, your dude, Udinski, or if it is a Shieldhouse, or, these guys are all in their 30s. So, I mean, They're all very happy to be NFL head coaches. And they all might be young and cocky enough to think that they can win with anybody, including Shedeur. So
you said real quick, Rob, because this is a great discussion. You said partner. I say Andrew Berry's the boss.
That's what I say. At the very least, they're looking for a cog in the system. At the most, they're looking for someone to do what they're told.
Exactly. I think you're spot on with it. I think they're looking for. I don't think a retread, unless it was in-house, like we just mentioned, was ever in the cards. I think they feel, the Browns, idiotically, feel that what they're doing, system-wise, is A-okay. And I think Jimmy Haslam has always said, Rob and Eli, alignment. I hate that word only because the Browns use it. I hate that word. But that's what they use. They use alignment. And I think, when Stefanski was here, it was like, 1A, 1B. Is it Stefanski or Berry? Is it this or that? I think here they want to establish that obviously the Haslams run it all, but Andrew Berry is the guy that the head of football ops. He's the boss. Yeah, I think that's what this is saying. And your point, Robbie, you're 100% right. You're going to keep Jim Schwartz here. You can't bring in your defensive guy. Jim Schwartz is here. You got to figure out what to do with Shedeur Sanders. You got to figure this out, and you report to Andrew Berry.
Now, that being said, if you're a 30-year-old brand new head coach, you're about 20 minutes away from being a fetus. No disrespect, Eli. But if you are, seriously, you're not that far away from 30, Eli. Your age being interviewed.
I know, Rob.
For these deals,
I know, it's crazy.
So I think it would be a dream that while you still basically have the training wheels on as a head coach, anyway, that you do bring in one of the top 5 defensive coordinators in the league to just run it. And okay, dude, all you got to do is worry about running the sideline, maybe the offense, and we'll be at it here. You don't even have to worry about dear God, if you hire that, if you keep special teams the same, we'll fire you the next day. But whatever. But yeah, you'll be fine with the defense. You'll be fine with that. So yeah, that would be a dream. If it's me, and if it's, even if I'm a 43-year-old head coach walking in who's never done this before, if that guy knows how to do everything on that side of the ball, then okay, cool. I'll just worry about what I need to worry about.
Right. And the other thing, too, with the Browns, right? We keep talking about who's the right choice. Double A throws his hands up in the air, doesn't know. He's in frustration, kind of like when Stefanski got fired and back in that open a few weeks ago. Just the same look of just what do we do, Double A? And I don't know what the right call is, Double A, Rob. I feel it's Udinski, but I think ultimately just getting an offensive guy in, keeping Schwartz as the DC, if you can retain him. My feeling is on Schwartz, I don't think he's the top candidate, top 2, 3 for a lot of teams, unless you're a team that wants to reshape your defense and has had a history of defense like Baltimore, who has already brought him and had a conversation with him. So that scares me a little bit. For the Browns, though, real quick.
That might be Jesse Minter's gig, though. He's another defensive head coach.
Yeah, very well. Very well could be.
Harbaugh adjacent.
Very well could be. But at the end of the day, that's the only time I see Schwartz leaving. So I think the Browns feel pretty confident that, hey, we can retain Schwartz as a DC, and we got to get the offensive mind. And kind of the point we keep making, the Browns don't have a real opportunity to go get Fernando Mendoza, obviously. Dante Moore went back to school, so unless you're in love with Ty Simpson or Lenore Sellers really right now, you're not taking a quarterback high up in the draft. You're also not going to really look probably free agency-wise. So it's either these young offensive minds are going to come in and think they can get Shedeur to that progression like Udinski's had with Trevor Lawrence over in Jacksonville. Most recently, I know I keep bringing him up, so there's the tie. Trevor Lawrence had the best year of his career this year. And so it's either Shedeur or they know it's not going to work out, but they got their guy, an offensive mind, and they get their chance at their quarterback in 2027, which is tiring. I'm sick of saying it. Draft after draft, just waiting for your guy. But Arch Manning comes out, not this draft, but next draft. And so that'll be the thing.
The thing is, though, is that if they're going to be worried about potentially drafting Arch Manning, one thing I can safely say, if it's Arch Manning at number 1 in the draft and the Browns are in line for that, Andrew Berry will not be making that pick, and this current head coach will not be working for the team. I
disagree.
No, because, dude, Andrew Berry, you have held on to your job by the hair on your chinny chin chin. Mm-hmm. You were one good draft class away from being sent packing just like Kevin Stefanski this time around.
Yeah.
And now you are hiring a head coach, Mr. President of Football Operations. If this does not work, if we don't see a turnaround, I'm not saying playoffs or bust, but if they're picking number 1 in the draft, then something went wrong and somebody's going to get fired. And it's probably going to be everybody getting cleared at that point in time because, again, I think the Haslams are kind of, they want this team to be ready to go for 2029 when this new stadium opens up. So
right.
If this thing doesn't work this year, I could see all of a sudden some massive changes happening, even bigger than what we're seeing right now in Cleveland.
Just real quick, the only thing I could see the head coach staying in that situation. We've talked at great length of Andrew Berry's on a proven year. I get the alignment, but at the end of the day, if you can go out and get one of these young offensive wizards, Udinski, Shieldhouse, one of these guys, you're not going to put him back into the opportunity for the NFL to go grab one of these guys, and then they look like a superstar. So I do think there's a world where Berry is really on the hottest seat in Berea right now, and this is going to be the proof year for him. But I get it, Rob. It could be a complete teardown. It just depends on how Jimmy Haslam's feeling that day.
Well, also, if you remember, think about it too. You get rid of the GM next year. If that does go down, and you bring in a big name to run your shit, if you bring in somebody that has some clout, he might say the same thing a big clout head coach would say about the quarterback. I'll do it, but I ain't doing it with him. So at that rate, I'll bring in my guy. That could happen too. So
and remember, if it comes to that. There is a gentleman by the name of Michael Tomlin that could be available next year if it came down to that. I feel terrible for not having a strong take on who should be the next coach of the Browns because, quite honestly, almost all of them have sucked.
I think though. Yeah, and I'm kind of where you're at right now because again, I don't think we'll know how any of these guys will function as a head coach. There's no proven guy here that's kind of on this list, but this is just something that like it's going to have to work here a little bit here. I like it's one of those situations, and I think they have to jump on this quicker than this isn't the time to take their time here. You have a situation where 9 different teams are looking for head coaches, and this is a game of musical chairs, and there'll be 1 or 2 teams like the Browns were with quarterback this last offseason, where, hey, we tried every option we could, and we're kind of shit out of luck on every one of these things. Where's Kenny Pickett? There's going to be 2 teams that are going to be like, hey, we struck out on A, B, C, D, and E. We're going to need to get somebody to coach this, maybe even with the idea that you're going to coach this thing for 1 year and we're going to get somebody a little bit more better in here in a year. I don't want the Browns to be sitting there, looking around for a chair in this game here.
Again, and I'll make clear too, Udinski, when you do watch talk in the prior experience, he worked with Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota, like he does impress you. I will say that if you're just looking at straight up, listening to a coach, somebody that's going to give you something in terms of media, he does impress you. I will give you that. So it would be a respectable hire across the NFL and across Browns fans if he is the guy to be hired this week.
Yeah, and I hope it kind of and actually, I think that's the question we'll close out with this whole conversation with is by the time we sit here and talk about the Super Bowl matchup next week and all the other stuff that'll happen between now and then, is the Browns' new head coach going to be one of those stories? Are we still going to be sitting here waiting for the Browns to figure out what they're going to do?
Going to be an interesting week.
I think we'll have a coach.
I do too.
I would say by Friday we'll have a coach.
I think the only thing that'll hold it up is the fact that they want to talk to some of these Rams coaches. Yeah, and the Rams are still very much alive in the playoffs. And I know they can talk to them this week a little bit, but that might be what we'll think too. That might be what an indicator. If we're sitting here next week talking to you and they haven't announced a head coach yet, it is one of those Rams guys because they're not going to be able to announce them before all that's done with anyway. So.
If Udinski is the guy, and they're bringing him in, I think, Eli, you said, tomorrow or Tuesday?
Correct. Yep, early in the week. Yep.
If Udinski's the guy, the only thing that's left, I hate to say it like this, especially because it's Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s day tomorrow. This is holiday. They just got to fulfill the Rooney Rule obligations, and then you got your new head coach.
I think
just the way the Rooney Rule was intended.
Yeah.
Yeah, not good. Not good. I think just to follow up on Double A's point about Udinski, and just to confirm, obviously they are having the second interview with him. And early this week, I truly think it's going to be a John Harbaugh situation where they basically said, what do we got to do for you to be the New York Giants head coach? And I talked to you guys off air about a tweet from Albert Breer about Arthur Blank whining and dining, essentially Kevin Stefanski and Joe Thomas bringing in the Hall of Fame steaks and Arthur Blank making the ribeyes himself, per the tweet, impressing everybody, then offers Stefanski the job. I think it's going to be one of those types of situations where they already spent 3 hours on a video call with him. Imagine when the guy gets in the room, they feel the energy shift. I think they offer the job. I really think we might have one here before Thursday Topics here on the Inside Edge Network.
So who's the best chef in the Browns organization?
I have no idea.
I don't know. The one thing I'll mention real quick before we break, John Harbaugh obviously took the Giants job. According to Craig Carden, I know you can take it with a grain of salt, but obviously in New York City, he has a lot of connections, WFAN. Mm-hmm. Tennessee was considered a strong candidate for Harbaugh services. It came down, he liked Cam Ward, and the other factor with the Titans, quality of life down there, family down there in was it Nashville with the Titans?
Yeah.
So quality of life was one of those things. So it's a whole package, and that's why maybe it was always hard to maybe get a retread to come here to Cleveland. Meanwhile, a 30-year-old who wants to be a head coach, and he knows
those are the jobs at, baby.
He has nothing. He has no kids. He can do whatever he wants. He'll come here to Cleveland. That might be for the best, having a young guy who has nothing else to do. While
I will say this too, Rob.
I'll sign off with this bit of breaking news. Yeah. I do have some bad news for any Falcons fans who are watching this right now. Apparently, you guys are dead before you even showed up. Skip Bayless has weighed in, and he said, quote, "The Atlanta Falcons hiring Kevin Stefanski is a big mistake. He's overrated. He talks a good game with owners, doesn't connect with players. He's arrogant, condescending. Now all that the Falcons' talent will be wasted." So Mr. Bayless has weighed in, and we know he is right 100% of the time. And now that he is given his opinion, I honestly, they should probably just fire him and pay him out the 5 years, of course, and just cut their losses right now. So
hey, give him that Joe Thomas steak dinner, free steak. You know what? I'll take him.
The only thing that would carry more weight than actually that decision would be if Stephen A. Smith said it while wearing a cowboy hat. But whatever. This is the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. This is the main event on that said podcasting network. We got AA Anthony Alford. You see his hands in the middle.
No, man, you can say it. You gotta soak it in. It's like, wait, you just say that?
Yep, gotta move quick here. But yes, we'll get into more of the. I'm sure Eli will hit it on Thursday topics. A lot more of this head coaching stuff. A little bit more of a national perspective. But yes, two of the 9 have been filled. We're waiting on the other 7. Hopefully, between now and the next time we talk, the Browns will be one of them for sure. But we'll take a quick break here. We'll get back with a little bit of news and notes. We got some baseball stuff to talk about. A lot of NCAA gambling situations. Again, I know it seems like it's a broken record, but here we are again. And this time it's dozens of players that have been implicated in something. So, yeah, we'll get into all that fun stuff here on the main event on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. Rob Rozycki, Eli Moon, AA Anthony Alford. We will be back. Ugh. Welcome back to the main event here on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. We have AA Anthony Alford, Eli Moon. I am Rob Rozycki, and this is the final segment, and I turn into a pumpkin pretty soon, so let's get through some news and notes. By the way, and I know I just said I want to get through this, but I have something unplanned. I was just walking up the stairs, and Antiques Roadshow, you know, the PBS show? My girl watches that incessantly. That's kind of just her, sound in the room a lot of times. A old lady, this had to have been a 20-year-old episode. Old lady walks in and says, hey, I got these baseball cards I found in the attic. It was like Harry Wright, A.G. Spalding, and the entire original Boston Red Sox from 1875. And has no clue what's happening. And the person who's appraising it looks at her and goes, yeah, it's $1 million.
Wow.
And that was 20 years ago. So I'm sure whatever it is, apparently it was the oldest ever complete set of any baseball cards ever found. So yeah, found that in the attic.
I have a Denver. Go ahead. Oh, I was going to say I have a Denver Broncos Peyton Manning jersey that I found for $25 at a secondhand shop.
I got a LeBron James that's basically the same way. It's hanging right over there, actually.
Man. Dude. Well, we better enjoy PBS while it still exists. But go ahead, continue.
Yeah, well, I mean, at least this is streaming, so we're good to go on that. Yeah. That's not going away anytime soon. But we do have some news and notes to get through here. I guess we'll start with tomorrow's football game. We have a college football playoff final. We have the Miami Hurricanes taking on the Hoosiers of Indiana. Yes, we are living in a time where the Hoosiers are the by far bullies of the college football world right now. They're looking for 16-0. Miami's looking to become the second two-loss champion in NCAA history. It's last I checked, it was an 8.5-point game swing in Indiana's favor. But we could talk a little bit about the game, but I definitely want to get into a little bit of the ancillary BS around it right now. The ticket prices are crazy. But real quick, before we get into the ticket prices, what are we thinking with this national title game, fellas?
I love it. I love everything about this national championship game, besides Ohio State not being in it. Okay, as a Buckeyes fan, and as I've expressed, as my little brother goes to school there, I'd love to see him celebrate the national championship in football. So he's got one more year to do it. With that being said, this is awesome. I mean, the press conferences have been awesome. I got to see a moment between Mario Cristobal, the Miami head coach, and Curt Cignetti, the Indiana head coach. And the reporter had asked a question. They said, what would winning a national championship mean to your program? And Curt Cignetti said, it would mean we're national champions. And then Mario Cristobal looked at him and he goes, and they go, Coach Cristobal, and he goes, it would mean we're national champions. And then he gave a nod to Cignetti. I just love it. These are two guys that are just just love playing the mind games, and they have put themselves in a great position. Let's look at this from a quarterback standpoint. I know we got a lot to cover here, but Carson Beck, Fernando Mendoza, two transfer quarterbacks, two guys really trying to make their name. Beck, two backup championships, but never won as a starter. This is a very good storyline matchup. Miami being a 10 seed, people argued if they were going to even should be in this tournament at one point. And Indiana, I mean, there's been wreck and shop all year. As far as the game, Rob, I don't know if we're asking predictions, but I'm leaning towards the Hoosiers on this one, just based off of Mendoza being a machine at this point.
Indiana's going to blow out Miami.
Oh, no.
The college football season is still going on? Still?
Yes. Yeah, it is.
Tomorrow will be the 19th of January, yes.
Next year's championship game will be held on January 25th. My goodness, these are children. They have classes. It's spring semester.
Hold on. And I should have pulled this video. I should have pulled this video. They asked Carson Beck about dealing with class in this whole situation. And he said, bro, I haven't gone to class in 2 years. I graduated in 24.
So semi-pro football still.
There we go. There we go.
Sure. Indiana.
Dude, Indiana's starting lineup is roughly the same ages as the Browns defense. So, yeah.
I hate to say this. I don't care. No,
that's good for Indiana.
I was locked in. New Year's Day, I was locked in. Even if they would have did the semifinals on New Year's Day and then played the championship game the week after. Okay, cool. It is mid-January.
Mm-hmm.
like college football started in late August. Like, I have the Heat running on full blast. Ain't nobody thinking about college. I get the game. I hope the game's great.
Space Heater right here.
And ESPN, when they have time in their schedule tomorrow to talk about the game that they're broadcasting, we'll get around to it. But come on now. What are we doing? Why is this going on? What are we doing?
The game's going to be in a warm location, though. Like, I get we have to have space heaters in.
I don't care about their warm location. That ain't football. I hear all the time.
I'll tell you what.
Oh, this is football weather. No, this is great football weather. Frozen tundra.
I'm more into this, even though Ohio State's not in it, than I have in years past. I mean, like it's a hell of a story. You know, you talk about the fact that Fernando Mendoza, quarterback of Indiana, is from Miami himself. There were people actually before this year was starting wondering why they didn't go after Mendoza and they went after Beck. He actually went to the same high school as Mario Cristobal. There are family members from Mendoza and Cristobal's family currently on that team playing with each other right now. I mean, this is, and then you throw in the full, they're connected, but this is an odd thing we're facing right now as football fans. It's a good thing. It's inclusive as hell. I mean, this is the most Cuban football game we've ever seen.
It is.
This thing's happening in South Florida with Miami playing in it, with Mendoza on the other sideline. Like, this is, and I think it's going to be a hell of a game. Double-A, I don't think Miami's going to get blown out. I think they're going to win this game. And I know Indiana's offense has been a juggernaut. The number that's been thrown around for Mendoza is more completion or more touchdown passes than incompletions in this in this playoff run. They are a juggernaut. But Miami does something different at the line of scrimmage. Miami, when you're talking their offensive and defensive lines, you can tell what Mario Cristobal came up as, and that was an offensive lineman and an offensive line coach. The line that has been thrown around, apparently around the Miami program, is, quote, mass kicks ass. And they're 50 pounds heavier across the board with what Indiana's doing. I know Indiana's dealt with bigger lines before, but I think the violence and the intensity that they're going to be dealing with, coupled with the fact that they do have a quarterback that is just as seasoned and just as experienced as the Indiana quarterback, this game, if it's 8.5 when it kicks, I don't want to tell anybody how to spend their money, but if you're going to bet, I'd hammer that Miami 8.5 underdog. No problem at all. That seems like easy money.
You know what? You guys are good at this. You guys sold me. You know what?
All right.
Let's go. Let's go to the game.
We can't go to the game. Tickets? We can't go to the game because we'd have to take a small loan out right now. And this kind of moves on to what the other story with this is, being that it is in Miami, and you have the Hoosiers down there, and they're traveling extremely well too. In a town that has a lot of hot tickets, this might be the hottest ticket in recent memory. And the prices are definitely reflecting that. The get-in price is anywhere between $3,000 and $4,000. That's just to get in the stadium. AA, here's another one. It's costing about a G to get a parking pass for said game. The parking rates are so crazy right now that a lot of Miami-Dade County residents are figuring out a new way to get cheaper parking. And do you know what that one is, AA? Parking your shitty legally and getting it towed and paying the impound fee. It's actually about half as getting your car out of Hawk is about half as expensive as it is to actually park the damn thing down there.
That's actually pretty true.
So, there's a lot of, there's a big deal going on with that. And, I understand we can all watch the game at home. I understand that most fans can watch the game at home, but I don't think it's a great look especially it's because a lot of these corporate sponsors have 40% of the seats there. That right. These, anytime you're talking about Final Fours, national title games, Super Bowls, it seems like that is just something that's not reserved for us mortal human beings.
Yeah, it's disappointing. I mean, I know we all probably I'd imagine we all share the same sentiment when it comes to this. It's just disappointing. We've seen, tickets ticket prices go up across the board, just everywhere. Not to kind of trail off for a moment, because first off, 3,000 to 4,000, Rob, is nuts. If you like,
premium seats are going for 5 figures, 10K.
Imagine what you could do with $10,000 instead of going to the college football playoff game. Or the title game. And I don't, I think it's gonna be a great game, but $10,000 could change somebody's life. And it's like also, but we've seen it across the board. We talked about a month ago about how TKO is outpricing WWE fans, even where tickets, were $25 to $75. Now they're $500, $600, $700, $800. That's even a price shock, a payment shock for WWE fans. And now it's with CFP. UFC events have always kind of been a little bit pricier. Though it seems like that's interesting what TKO is doing. That's a different discussion, different day. But just all across the board, yeah, Rob, it just seems like we can't go to these games unless the Browns, for an NFL comparison, are so terrible that people are giving the tickets away. But if it's a game that's worth, being at and the sponsors are going to be at, then that's who's going to be there. The sponsors, the businessmen, the scouts for the NFL.
I've looked at Nikki already and said the only way, unless I'm covering it, and I'm lucky enough to do that, the only way we're ever going to the Super Bowl is if I win a contest. That's the only way. And you see that when people get handed Super Bowl tickets, it's like they won the lottery because they are just so unattainable, and it's just such a pipe dream for 99% of the fan base. Literally 99%.
I do see, too, on the flip side, and maybe this is more in the NFL, maybe more so here in Cleveland, if your team is really bad, like terrible, and it's like both teams are bad. Like we had a Browns game this season. I think it was against the Titans game, where the get-in price was $6.
Yeah, it was actually cheaper than a McDonald's value meal. Yeah.
I could have took the bus and got right in for $6 to that. So you are seeing the flip side of that. Bob, you mentioned corporate sponsors. They're the ones buying these tickets. They're the ones that's going to be there.
Well, yeah, because
all these events
the issue that they're having right now is you got the Miami players looking for tickets right now. You saying, hey, I know it's at Hard Rock. I know Miami's involved, but this isn't week 2 against FIU. This is a FBS college football playoff. Like, this is not us running it. So yeah, we're 40% of this shit is just gone before we even see it.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, no, I mean it's sad because I remember the days where just any sporting event you could get in and at least get in the door. I mean, I remember there's a picture on social media with me and my pops, Papa Moon. You can check out on the Inside Edge Network Saturdays. Real Talk with Papa Moon. But we're in there like maybe 10, 15 rows back from the court. This is like when the LeBron Cavs, right when he came back, and even those tickets weren't even that expensive. $50, $60, which for that value was worth it. But now it's like you're paying $50, $60. That's half of the price to get in just to the arena, and it's sad.
Well, it's not helped out by it's Miami, it's the national, it's just the perfect storm right now. And then the opponent, you got the Hoosiers. They have been the first couple of games they've been playing, they have been lauded for how they've been traveling. So yeah, everybody wants this ticket. And from what I understand too, they're going to be looking at 4-year starters of Miami football saying, hey, I understand you won a national title here, but there's no more room at the inn. And from what I'm even hearing that something along the lines for sideline passes, what you're going to need for admission if you're a Miami football player and you want a sideline pass like Irvin, you're going to need your gold jacket. That's how selective this is. Clinton Portis, no, you're not in the Hall of Fame yet. Stay away. Frank Gore, stay away. Bryant McKinney, stay away. Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, come on in. But yeah, it's going to be pretty selective, and it's going to be nuts. But I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. So I will sit and happily watch it on my ass in this room for my ESPN humble fee of $30 a month. So yeah, we'll go with that. But yeah, let's move on here. We got a few more stories. Speaking of college sports. Seems like we have one of these pop up every other week now. If it's college basketball, UFC, if it's NFL, if it's Major League Baseball, we know it too well here in Cleveland. But a college basketball point shaving scheme involving more than 39 players on 17 NCAA Division I teams has resulted in dozens of games in the previous 2 seasons being fixed by a gambling ring that included a former NBA player, according to an indictment that was posted in federal court in Pennsylvania just a couple of days ago. They said 20 of the 26 defendants have played college basketball during the 23-24 season or this last season, and 4 of the players that were involved in this indictment have played for their current teams this week. So this is being felt, and I think there's only one Power 5 school involved, and it's a lower one, but especially in the group of 5 conferences, this is shaking everything pretty hard.
Yeah, it just, to your point, Rob, it just seems like every week we're talking about an NCAA scandal or confusion of the rule or an extension of the rule or this or that or, whatever. And this isn't good. This is like, the more this stuff comes out in sports, it's going to continue to get muddy, get bad. I mean, regardless if it's NCAA, pros, obviously we had the NBA stuff earlier in the season for them. But this is just bad, Robin. You mentioned it's a lower Power 5 school. I get that. But obviously when this stuff starts already like ruminating, like being in the vicinity of these other schools and stuff, and these guys are already having conversations with college athletes, who's to say it doesn't get to the Power 5? It's good that it's not good this is a thing, but it's good that the NCAA seems to have caught it quicker than other things that have been, in terms of betting scandals and scandals in general.
It's been going on for 2 years.
Yeah, but in terms of NCAA time, they've let a lot of stuff go by a lot longer than this. So I think giving their track record, this is quick. But what I'm saying is this can go to the Power 5s. That's concerning because now we're having a conversation where March Madness, the biggest tournament of the year, and some argue it's the greatest, playoff tournament out of all of them, including pros. So who's going to feel confident watching a 64, 68 team tournament if these guys are now just really in it for extra money?
Well, and they're smaller schools, but they're names that everybody kind of recognizes, especially if you're used to studying the back end of the NCAA bracket. We're talking, these are the schools that are involved. Abilene Christian, Alabama State, Buffalo, Coppin State. We know those guys are a perennial 15 darling. DePaul, Eastern Michigan from the MAC. Fordham, Kennesaw State, LaSalle, another darling in the brackets here. New Orleans, Nicholls State, North Carolina A&T, Northwestern State, Robert Morris, just a little east of here in Pittsburgh, St. Louis, Southern Miss, and Tulane. So these are all kind of schools that we recognize. I mean, they're
right.
Not, we're not talking about, Division III, where Trinidad Chambliss was playing last season or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, this is something that when you start, I know these guys, some of these kids, even in the smaller schools, are getting NIL money. But, when you're talking lower end college basketball, even D1, there is a definite financial need there. And we're starting to talk about $10,000 to $30,000 being thrown around for some of these fixes. That's some real money to these guys.
Right.
Yeah.
And the NCAA has to, what it is, and catching it is one thing. The NCAA is getting pretty good at catching it. All the leagues are getting pretty good at catching it because they have all the books data to help them out.
Right.
The issue is they're going to have to figure out a way to be proactive instead of reactive. They got to fix this problem before it's a problem, because I don't care how many times they catch it and self-police it. If you have too many of these scandals, you're going to start thinking that, the NCAA tournament isn't on the up and up. Major League Baseball is not on the up and up. Or in the NBA, they've been rocked by a few of these too. So the more and more this kind of happens, the more and more the public trust is going to be eroded.
Well, the NCAA, they're in a lose-lose because all those schools that you just mentioned, the first thing I think of, even though you brought up NIL, the first thing I thought of was none of these players are getting NIL money. Robert Morris and NIL that's not 1-on-1 to me, just personally. So I think that's the part where it gets really tough. How do you become proactive with this? The NCAA, I don't know how they can proactively get something out of this now that there is a NIL world. That part I don't know. And that's the concern. I think the only thing they really can do is continue to try to catch when things are obvious. I mean, if you're talking your top players not performing, like underperforming, yeah, duh. My bigger concern out of all this too is how much of these coaches, can the coaches enforce this in any way, shape, or form at all?
I don't know. I mean, again, I'm sure these coaches don't know what's going on with these particular moves, and if they did, they're in deep shit. But
I know, but like if your star player, if one of your star players is obvious, we played a tape when the Terry Rozier stuff was going on. We played a tape on this show of him blatantly missing layups and giving the ball up, things that no NBA player should be doing. And he, like, if you're a coach and your star player just looks like hot trash,
I'll give you an example.
Have an obligation to pull him out of the game.
It's a player that's never had any issues. He's actually up for a big trade right now. But you remember the final regular season series with the Tigers it was the playoffs with Tarek Skubal, when he just inexplicably hiked the ball between his legs instead of throwing it to first base. Something like that. Now, all of a sudden, are you looking at it going, okay, back in the day, players could just be stupid. But now it's like, okay, was there any sort of, anybody helped out by that particular move? Was there a run that was scored that helped out a spread or an over-under?
I'll give you a basketball example. The Ricky Davis, that fake triple-double.
Yeah.
Well, we all knew he was doing that one, though. I think.
I know. I'm just saying. I'm not putting this on Ricky Davis. I'm just saying, though, if something like that were to happen, I mean, is that something you look into? Now these are things that pop into your head.
That's the problem we're in now, is that, and maybe the gambling's been around and guys have been taking bets for spreads and shaving points I think the first baseball scandal was in the 1870s with this kind of stuff. So, it's probably been around on some level, but we're catching it now and we're becoming aware of it now. And, I just, I think we might, as sports fans in 10 years or so, look back in 2018 when they struck down all the legislation that just kept this stuff to Vegas. And we're going to see that, and as probably one of the darker days in sports history, because it's going to keep on getting, we're going to keep asking more and more questions. The trust is going to be eroded. The confidence is going to be eroded. And the WWE does great for a professional wrestling entity. But if you put it up against the NFL or the NBA or Major League Baseball, it makes peanuts. And that's the amount of people that would be watching it. You'd still have your hardcore football fans who wouldn't care if it's fixed. But your casuals, the Super Bowl ain't going to be the highest rated show of the year anymore. That's not going to happen. The NFL
you're better.
80 of the top 100 broadcasts every year. That's not going to be the case. If it's fixed, no.
Yeah, and just in my final point on this too is, with the world just having so many different options nowadays, where sports was very dominant in terms of and it still is in terms of in a lot of people's day-to-day life. It is still very important. We sit here and talk about it for 2 hours, 3 hours at a time, and I love it. But for some people, there might be other options out there if they feel like the integrity of the games are gone and the integrity of the sports are gone, and they might just go find something else
for sure.
Yeah. So that's something to keep an eye on as we get into it, right? And more and more. So we'll see.
No, we do have a little bit of Guardian breaking news right now. This was put up by Alden Gonzalez about an hour ago. The Texas Rangers are going to be adding Jacob Junis to their bullpen. So goodbye, Jacob. We hardly knew you. 1 year in, 1 year out. See you later. Did some good work, but he's not going to. The Guardians will have about 35 people in the bullpen, but Jacob Junis will not be one of them. But yes, we can talk a little bit of Kyle Tucker next week. I think we can kind of get into that one here, because that is far more than just a couple of minutes worth of ranting here. We can move into what we have learned today, gentlemen, if you want to go through that thing. I did see the lower third up there. I think Eli has somewhere to be, a hot date or something coming up at 12.
If Eli's putting down the lower third, what needs to be talked about, that's what we're doing.
Look, fellas, I'm just respectful of my two great friends, my bros, who I know we all got busy schedules and we got significant others and things we got to take care of. Look, I know we all got a busy work. No, I think one of us does. Double A. I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you.
It's
But
like the first time I've been that one out of the three of us ever. So yeah, I'll just enjoy that for a second.
You enjoy the living, you know what, out of that. That's a great spot to be, buddy.
I'll start. Rob, Double A. I got it. What we learned this weekend. What I learned this weekend. Really, truly. I know I'm usually the gratitude guy, so I'm gonna be the gratitude guy. I've had a very, very powerful weekend. Not everything has gone to plan for what I had planned. I had a very long list of things I needed to get done. And did everything get done? No. And most often than not, I'd be frustrated by the end of this weekend. After this show, I'd probably drink another Dr. Pepper and sit here and have some more nicotine, hit my vape until I thought how to plan for the week. But I've been putting a lot of just trust in everything around me that it's going to work out, and that I'm experiencing weekends like I just had to show me that I need to enjoy what's around me right now. Because I'm very goal-oriented. I'm very focused on what I need to get to. I'm always business-minded. And this weekend was probably the least amount of business I've done all in the last probably calendar year. Felt weird a little bit at first, but I'm gracious. I got to spend watching football with Papa Moon all weekend. We had an amazing, dinner we cooked up here last night. And I'm gracious for that. I got to spend a ton of time on the phone with my mom. Me and Double A joked last week about how, we don't miss the phone call from Mama. And, I got on the phone with my mom and I got to talk with her, and it was a blessing to be able to talk with her. Just catching up, getting to see my niece and nephew. Really what I learned this weekend is I got to stop and smell the roses sometimes, because if you don't, you just won't appreciate the journey that got you to where you're going to. So I'm very gracious for the Inside Edge Network here. What we're doing, what the whole network is doing. We've had a very successful launch in September. Thanks everybody that's tuned in so far for the entire 2 hours and 12 minutes we've been on air. I know the other guys are going to share what they learned, but I want to say thank you on behalf of the main event of the Inside Edge Network. Make sure you tap in on Inside Edge Net on the socials. And thank you. I'm gracious Inside Edge Network. I'm gracious LaHale on the music side. I'm just gracious and excited for what's to come in 2026. So this weekend, though it felt like it may have been a loss at first, really was one of the biggest wins I've had all week. That's what I learned this weekend.
And I'm sorry, real quick, this is me being a boss here for a hot second. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a bell underneath the video. Click that bell, the notification bell. You get all the alerts, all the stuff that we have with all of our shows, and that helps us a ton.
Yes.
So that bell, make sure you click on that notification bell if you're watching us on YouTube.
Yes. So you can get updated when we start telling you all our sports takes and everything else. Last week we taught Stranger Things and who could be the best coach for the Browns. So, it gets like that sometimes. That's what I learned this weekend, fellas. I'm gracious. I'm ready to rock this week.
Okay, well, I'll take the second spot here real quick. And I honestly, this was kind of a mundane week for me. And I've learned a couple of things, though. The first thing I've learned is that I am positive the Bible was written close to the equator. Because if it was written in Cleveland, Ohio, hell would not be hot. Hell would be 3 degrees. It would be snowy. And it would be windy. It would be Mentor, Ohio. So I've learned that. And then also, too, just baseball sucks right now. I know we're going to get into it big time next week, and I'm sure throughout this offseason, but baseball sucks. Kyle Tucker, $60 million a year for the next 4 years. He's the Dodgers' probably 5th best player on the offensive side of the ball. I don't even want to throw where the pitchers kind of stack up here. But the Dodgers, the rich keep getting richer, and God is really not answering prayers a lot for all of us here. I understand that the Dolans can spend more money. I know Bob Nutting can spend more money. I know Bruce Sherman can spend more money. By the way, Bruce Sherman, whose personal net worth is about $500 million, doesn't have the money in his own pocket to pay Shohei Ohtani's $600 million contract. That's an owner who doesn't have the money to pay that contract. And I know they can spend more money. I know these guys love the fact that they can have a shitty baseball team and just make money hand over fist. But that doesn't mean we need to have a cap. We need to have, because the Dodgers can spend and spend and spend. When you throw in all the luxury tax and all the payroll, without deferred money, they're paying their team almost $500 million this year. With deferred money, that number moves closer to $1 billion in payroll this year. I understand the Dolans can spend more money. They can't spend that much more money. They just can't. Nobody. Steve Cohen, Mets owner, might be able to. Nobody else can. So either they need a cap or they need to have 29 teams up for sale tomorrow. And it's all going to have to be Saudi oil guys and Russian oligarchs and private hedge fund guys, because those are going to be there's going to be 40 people on the planet. They're going to be having enough money to spend where the Dodgers are spending. Steve Ballmer, I know you don't like salary caps in the NBA. Buy the Angels. Buy somebody. Just spend. Because baseball, I mean, and I know they got a CBA coming up at the end of the year. We're sitting, about 11 months away from it right now. It can't come fast enough because the Dodgers are back-to-back champions, and I will be shocked if they aren't 3 in a row. I will be shocked. So, yeah, baseball sucks.
Yeah, and I can't wait for next week to dive more into that.
Bible written close to equator, not on the north. North, if we wrote it up here, hell would be a frozen hellscape, not burning fires. It would be it's what it is out there right now. Cold.
Double A, what you learned this weekend?
Well, I'll show you what I learned here, because I'll tell you, and we might have to move that banner there for a second there, but imagine you're going in. I mean, again, the new trend here that we're talking about, what were we doing in 2016? Well, the three of us, we were in a studio almost every single day. Actually, yes, every single day at Ohio Media School doing this show, doing the main event. And a lot of what you do with college, no matter what it is you develop your voice and the creativity is there. Well, imagine on college radio day, you show up to do your show and you're escorted out of the studio by cops because your station is shut down.
I think I knew a radio producer that happened to about 10 years ago, but yeah, other than that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But for a completely different reason.
Yeah, for a completely different reason, yes. For that reason, I support. But this one, I don't. Escorted out, and then only to find out later that day, not only did you lose your show and you lost your shift, you lost your station. It's now a jazz station owned by Idea Stream. And Cleveland State, that's what they're fighting right now. WCSB lost their student-ran radio station to Idea Stream, and now they're fighting back. The former program director, alleging that this was a plan all along, and that there was no public discussion about the future of the station. You just pull the plug, and that was it. I'll tell you right now, our entire media system right now, we're at a flux right now. It's not a situation where, we are doing the things that we need to do to be successful, because we're paying people less to do more work and we're eliminating jobs. And it's unfortunate because there are a lot of creative people that could do this thing we call broadcasting, that can do this for fun, but also inform, entertain. And it's not a coincidence right now that the state of the media is at its absolute worst, because we are cutting resources left and right. Our old college station in BG, they're no longer going to have a PBS programming later this year because of lack of funding. So when you take all of that into account, when people are like, oh, I don't trust the media anymore, fine. But look and see where industries and where corporate stations and corporate companies are cutting things left and right. And then you see why everyone is retreating to their own space on TikTok and all the socials we show at the bottom of the screen each and every single week. That Cleveland State story should have not happened. It should not occur because we developed creativity through this. But it's the way of the land here in 2026. And I don't see enough of a powerful presence across the board for anybody that's out there that's willing to stop this. I hope this Inside Edge Network platform as they start, but we are just a platform. Those kids were trying to build a future that we had an opportunity to build 10 years ago, and those kids were robbed of that.
Well, and yeah, I mean,
inherit them for robbing them of that experience.
That's a big deal because, you know, and doing this now almost a decade, and I mean, it took about 8 years of constantly talking to somebody, to nobody, to everybody. Took about 8 years for me to start feeling like I was getting decent at it. And, you know, and you need the flight time, you need the time to practice, you need the time to find yourself. And not only that, but you're talking about your on-air jocks, you're also talking about your producers, you're talking about your editors, you're talking about your production guys, you know, the dudes who want to do sales and get into management. Like, they need those trial runs too. And I think that goes into the bigger problems that we're talking about right now, AA. And I gotta let me mind my P's and Q's as I work for some of these entities that might be accused of some of these things. But yeah, we're facing a problem right now with and it's not just media. It's everything. This is late stage capitalism. We have cut and cut and cut in everything, in media, in airplanes, in cars, in pharmaceuticals. We have cut the overhead so much because we need to make money on this stuff so bad that now the only thing we can cut is actual flesh and bone and actual muscle. The fat is gone. You know, all of those extra staff members, all of those extra amenities are gone. And you start to see that happen, you know, start to really see the quality of the product go down. You know, stuff does get missed. You and I don't want to get into it big time because Lord knows we can rehash it off air, but we have been around situations where guys have gotten fired because the fail safes weren't there that maybe were there 15 years ago, because there aren't the people to do it anymore, because you are asking everyone to do a lot of other things. And that's really, really hurting the future of the business right now, because you just said it right now. The younger kids are coming up with less training. There's less jobs for them. There's less time for them to get experience and get practice. And sooner than later, when all of these top heavy names, the Ryan Seacrest of the world, all of these guys who get paid a shit ton, Stephen A. Smith on our side of the game, whenever those guys go away, who's going to replace that? Who's going to be there? Who's going to be, and we can even talk about guys like Stephen A. Smith and the quality of their work and journalism going down in recent years. I think that's a different discussion. I think that's a tabloidy, we want the clicks thing. But what we're doing right now is that for the sake of late stage capitalism and making money today, we are mortgaging the future of this business and the future of media in general. And yeah, sports is one thing. You can thank you for joining us right now and getting our opinions on sports. That's great. You can get that, 38,000 different spots. And ultimately, unless you're a degenerative gambler or got something else I know going that I don't know about, no one loses their life. Nobody loses, serious things out of their existence with sports. Think about that, though, with the hard news. Think about that with the stuff that's going on in Minnesota. Think about the stuff that is going on in Iran right now with the protests, and even in Gaza, let alone the stuff that is happening domestically along with Minnesota.
And the thing is,
we know that stuff.
And the thing is, you need to know how to cover this. And I'll be brief about the journalism part, and then we'll wrap. And Eli, I'll let you step in, obviously, too. People don't know the meaning of journalism. They don't know anymore. They just
research too. That's another word.
They don't know about journalism. They don't know about research. They just don't know. The amount of times that I hear people say, "Well, they said it," or "They said it." Who the blank is they? And people don't know that because they get their news from here instead of actually learning these things. And the more of these resources that are being taken away, it's an absolute travesty in our business that it's gotten to this point. And I hope that these students at WCSB kick the living crap out of Cleveland State for allowing this to happen. And the fact, too, that those students are paying tuition to go to the school that screwed them.
And the big thing, too.
I was going to say real quick, like just if I was a student over there, like when I went to OMS and, we're taking the tour of the place, they showed me the sports talk studio and I said, I can use this anytime I want. They said, yeah, you got to sign up and stuff and the procedures, but I can use this anytime I want. Okay, I'm in. That's all I needed to see. That's all I wanted was the studio time. That's really all I cared about when I was looking around that school. And if that were me, yeah, I'd be transferred. I don't know if I finished the semester there, to tell you the truth.
So the big thing that my point on my final, I guess, thought point, before we wrap up here, it's a big problem across the board. But as somebody who's in music and on the business side of music, booking shows, handling press for the collective and other artists, not only in the city but out of state as well. We have some crossovers with Massachusetts this year, and Texas. This is a problem in music, and it's a problem otherwhere with journalism and other worlds and everything like that. But let me just go for music for a minute, because I live in that world every single day, and I have for quite a long time. With music, the fear is the underground. And Cleveland State this radio station has been the underground. Let me explain what I mean, the underground. For people out there that listen to your Kendrick Lamars, your Drakes, your ASAP Rockies on the hip hop side, your Adeles, your Justin Biebers, your whoever. You have their mainstream artists that you listen to, the guys and girls that are getting millions of streams. And then you have the underground, the guys that made it. They didn't have to get 1 million streams on Spotify or Apple Music or any of this right now. They got it off of selling CDs and vinyls and merch, and everybody in the city had it. Just to give a Cleveland comparison, Al Fats had the city on fire back 10 years ago, and it was off of one song, and it didn't need to do 1 million streams. Al Fats is a legend in Cleveland because of that. The fear in this industry, and this is something that I'm so passionate about, and it upsets me to the core about Cleveland State, because it is a music thing, is they are taking away the underground. They are taking away the independence of artists, of creators, of people that want to go in and get it off their own muscle. I'm blessed that I have a collective in Lahele that trusts me to go out and make these moves, and that I have a squad that's ready to rock with me, because we are changing the industry. We are changing the way that artists, there's too much of it in terms of the way it's organized from these radio stations. I feel for Cleveland State. I feel for the students, because that is big monopoly. That is big industry taking them away, killing the underground. That is the reason why you have to search for newer artists on the artist side, because at the end of the day, they're not going to push any of these guys up to the top over Drake, Kendrick Lamar, any of these guys. We live in an artificial world so often, more than not, when it comes to music, that people get confused by the numbers. But the beauty in it is community, shaking hands, showing that love and unity. They were doing that at Cleveland State, as I said in the post doubly pulled up here, decades long. And from an artist side, I could go on a whole nother rant. Maybe that's what I learned next weekend too, is that the way the game is ran right now by a lot of people is just effed up. Because I'm trying to watch it, but it's effed up. The artist not getting paid, having to pay for majority of their slots, while promoters make big bucks instead of paying the artist, not giving them enough time, gatekeeping these opportunities, and now it's turning into radio stations and outreaching. So I've been upset about this. I'm glad you brought this up. I've been upset about it since it's broke, and now they're suing. But I wish nothing but the best in this outcome for Cleveland State and the students, because the underground will not die, because we won't let it die. But the industry is trying everything they can to kill it. And I'm going to be one of the ones that make sure it gets right back to where it needs to be at the top.
I'm just trying to figure out too what the logic, like why are like they're putting it, this is a soft jazz station, soft music, this is Muzak, this is elevator music basically. And again, nothing knocking it, but I think we all know that it's not exactly a money making format for a music station. I'm just trying to figure out why they're willing to take the PR hit over canceling the station and reformatting it for something that's ultimately not going to make them a nickel.
because at the end of the day, this is like on the music side, and you guys, we see it all across the board. But this is literally just the industry in Cleveland State's playing ball with the industry here. It seems like where the industry doesn't want the little artists to win. Rob, there's a guy. I'll give a shout out real quick to LaRussell. He's an independent artist out of the Bay, out in Vallejo, and he is literally right now selling like his album for direct to consumer. You could pay whatever you want. You could pay $1 for his album. The industry is trying to take that away because if the big artists and all that don't generate the money, then Spotify, Apple Music, these just exactly because the distributors, these DSPs, there's thousands, but I'm sure millions at this point, but thousands upon thousands of songs released. And so now in the murky waters of AI artists, we don't even know what's real anymore.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. That's why the underground needs to exist, because I can go up to you and shake your hand, Rob. I can go up to you and shake your hand, Double A, and say, would you like to buy my album? And I can have a conversation with you about it. The underground needs to live. So I apologize, but that pisses me off.
And what I think too, and we've seen it happen throughout history too, and there's always been an underground. There's always been young artists that were, looking to break out. They were all, in our field in music and acting and whatever. And they always kind of have a good, they always find a spot. There's always a place for them to go. Like we'll wait and see what happens over the next few months of, all the guys that were pissed off that, they had to leave the Cleveland State station. Where are they going to land? Where are they going to go? If it is going to be online, if it's going to be on a terrestrial station, people who want to be heard are typically pretty persistent when it comes down to that. And I'm not trying to make it sound like it's no big deal, but I'm just trying to highlight the perseverance of these starving artists and the younger generation that is trying to fight the good fight. So I wouldn't be surprised if they land somewhere else, if it's something that just kind of relocates. But yeah, Cleveland State is not doing themselves any favors right now. I know their enrollment was down even before all this started happening. Mm-hmm. Last thing they need to be doing is giving people reasons not to go to their school. And it's just broadcasting in general too. I don't even know how much of this is in Cleveland State's control. This is money getting cut all the way across. You just said NPR, PBS, they're getting cuts. They're having to fold up shop. So, it's just a bad time right now for media.
Well, we'll find.
It's like somebody wants to have one message coming out and telling everybody the same thing. I don't know who that person would be.
But I don't know either. And my last thing, 30 seconds, because Rob, you got to go to bed. You got to go to bed. The last thing, this lawsuit, I know there was an NDA that was kind of signed, but private companies, we're going to find some things out. I'm reading details here that some of these students weren't even allowed to grab equipment that they personally paid for the studios, that they weren't allowed to do that.
This just doesn't seem right. It just doesn't seem like, it's not right, but it just doesn't seem like it was done on the up and up.
No, not at all. And I can't imagine us doing our shows or whatever we have done. And from Eli, from music, anything, imagine showing up to the studio one day, no warning, no nothing, all of your stuff, all of your demo gone.
Yeah, basically treating it like a crime scene. You can't take anything in or out. You can't do, I don't know.
Without warning, without notice. You show up on a Tuesday.
I don't know. Maybe they thought they could bully these college kids, but the thing is, college kids typically aren't really bullyable. They're young and dumb enough where they don't really care about consequences. So Matt, you're pretty hard.
My final thing about real quick, I need 10 seconds. My final thing is overall, I think the overarching last thing of what we learned this weekend from Double A and what we all talked about it here is we the people, man, in terms of the little man, the little guy's got to win, man. And they get to that position by allowing to have these avenues. They are taking the avenues, whoever they are big industries are taking away the avenues. And I'll be damned if they take away these avenues that we have. Inside Edge Network is going to be successful on the sports and entertainment side and be a platform where we have had 77 strong with us rocking from majority of this freaking, podcast. And on the Lahele side, there's going to be people that are in the community. I'm going to continue to build community. We're going to continue to build community. Damn it, I'm pissed. I don't know how I'm about to go to sleep. I don't know. But that's all I got.
Actually, that's going to happen pretty quick. Obviously, it's good that I think we're I don't want to sound self-serving because we're on an independent, network here. We're on an independent platform, but yes, I think that's going to be have to be where it goes is where, these situations like we're sitting here, like we are not told what to say. We are not told how to say it. We are not told even really anything. If we stopped doing the show, I think Peter would be disappointed, but again, they're not going to, there's not going to be litigation involved. So yeah, I mean, we have ultimate freedom here. And I think a lot of other people are going to start, and it's already happened. I mean, I don't want to sound like it's this new thing, but these guys that already have notable names are already using a platform of their own. We're now starting to see some people creating their own names on these smaller platforms. So hopefully we'll be 3 of them too. But yes, do you want to pull the plug on this thing right now? Is that what you're doing, Double A, or are you doing the whole?
Yeah, I'll start. I'm not going
Elon Musk salute right now, or what?
Yeah, I'll turn the TV off.
Okay. All right. Well, on that note, and yes, Jeff Bezos or Mark Zuckerberg, please don't shut us down. We like doing this. But yes, for everybody here at the main event, for Double A Anthony Alford, who looks like he needs to go to the bathroom, for Eli Moon, who is enraged, and for me, who will be asleep in 15 minutes, I am Rob Rozycki. This is the main event on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. We will see you next week. Have a great week.